What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
5BD. Chapter 101 Man-Made Devil Fruit, Kunlun Zuowu Island. Advertisement. Although Guy said full of promises, he was secretly bitter in his heart. He can make smiles, and with the full help of Judge and the little humans, the achievement rate and output of his smile fruits are increasing at an astonishing rate. However, Dover asked him to imitate the legendary devil fruit a few days ago. It made Guy feel quite embarrassed, but he didn't dare to refuse. The reason is that the man-made devil fruit he makes are basically zone, even Paramesha can't make it. And what Dover ordered him to imitate was the legendary, Logia's top devil fruit, dark fruit. Guy has only seen dark fruit's illustrated book, and has not even seen the shadow of the real thing. How can one really make an imitation? Dover glanced at Guy, knowing that it would be unrealistic for him to create an imitation dark fruit in a short time. However, if there is a real thing, let Guy refer to it for reference, maybe there is still such a possibility. Dover looked thinking. Not long ago, news came from Stussy, and it is said that there has been some news about dark fruit. 67-7 are clues to catch the wind, and the specific situation needs to be verified. Dover temporarily put the matter behind him, and then faintly ordered. Prepare 50 smiles, 80% of which are defective. Guy stunned when he heard the words, he didn't know what Mr. Joker wanted to taste smile so many times. Need to know. Over the past year, he has made more successful genuine smiles than inferior products. Moreover, after eating the inferior smile, not only cannot obtain the ability, but also may encounter unexpected harm. But Guy dare to talk too much, and prepares himself obediently. Guy doesn't know that the smiles he will choose are the gifts that Dover will give to Kaido. A year ago, Dover used the smile fruit to successfully lure Kaido into the bait, break into Wanokuni, and obtain Seastone art. At the same time, Dover also acts as an intermediary, connecting Wanokuni and world government transactions. Although Dover took the big head unceremoniously during the trade during this period, the remaining part, Kaido and Orochi, who were unknowing enough, was overjoyed. However, as the world situation changes sharply, Kaido, however, is no longer satisfied with the money he got from the world government. After having money, Kaido yearns for violence and powerful military power even more. Then, since 6 months ago, Kaido has called repeatedly to inquire about Dover Smile's progress. Dover would not tell the truth, until today. Dover felt that Kaido was about to lose patience, and after he had achieved the results he wanted, he let go. Smile has been initially successfully developed. Moreover, he will personally deliver things to Wanokuni. Kaido was immediately overjoyed when he heard the words, and his previous doubts about Dover vanished in an instant. Holding the smile that Guy chose carefully and found out, most of which were inferior products, the corner of Dover's mouth couldn't help but evoke a sneer. If Kaido knows that the smile he has been looking forward to day after day and night, and so long for, is just a junk thing that Dover has finally picked out, I am afraid he will vomit blood directly. With a faint laugh in his heart, Dover immediately raised his sleeves and returned to Dressrosa below. Advertisement. 1 day later, Dover left Dressrosa in the eyes of the daughters reluctantly. Before going to Wanokuni, he has to go to another place. Somewhere in New World, there is a moving island that cannot be reached by recording pointers. This island is named Zo, and it is a country that lives on giant elephants. The creatures living on it are also very peculiar. That is, the body is similar to human beings, but the whole body is a fur family with hair. This day, the central clearing of Zhao Island. Most of the fur clan gathered here. There are people with worry on their faces, but more of them are excitement and admiration. Their eyes are all looking at the two extraordinary figures in the middle. Oh, come on, Duke Inurin, you are the strongest king of the furry principality. Fart. Obviously the cat viper boss is stronger. What are you talking about? Duke Inurin is the king of the day in charge of the day. Huh, so what? The cat viper boss, or the master of the night, the king of the night. The two sides refused to give up to each other, and the content of the dispute seemed to be the Inu Lan and Cat Viper who were nervously confronting each other. Wow, Master Inurin and Master Cat Viper are the strongest. Let's shake hands and make peace. In the crowd, there was still a very uncoordinated voice, but the weak voice was immediately drowned in the dispute with other members of the Fur clan. Garlot lowered his head in frustration, but then pinned his hopes on Pedro, who was beside him, with a leopard head and a sword at his waist. Brother Pedro, go and persuade you two. With arms folded across his chest, Pedro, who was tall, shook his head helplessly. I can't get involved in the fight between the two adults. Pedro was right. Although his strength is good, he even broke through the ant pirate group. But compared to the two of the 9 knights of the Scarlet Cloud, the dog Tan Lan and the cat Viper, who can rival Jack the Drow, one of the 3 plagues, are still far behind. Hearing this, Garrett could only look worried and helpless. On the field, the dog-headed Inu Lan and the cat-headed cat Viper stared at each other fiercely. Cat Viper. Dog Lonan said, now it's daytime, you broke into Lousy's country without authorization, do you want to fight? Cat Viper held his pipe and sneered. What is your country? Inulan, in another half an hour, this is my place. Inu Lan and Cat Viper, although they were once the 9 warriors of the Red Sky, they are Kazuki Odin's retainers. Advertisement. However, after Kazuki Odin's death, the two quickly turned away due to their disagreements. Even though they are in Zuowu, they are divided into two countries, day and night, each in charge. Inuarashi was irritated by the brutality of the cat viper. He slowly pulled out the western sword from his waist. The cat vipers also took out their weapons, tit for tat. When necessary, the atmosphere on the court becomes extremely urgent. The surrounding vegetation, the trembling, seemed to be forced by the aura of the two powerful men, and felt scared. Very awesome. You can do this just by aura, you really deserve to be Lord Inulan and the boss of the cat viper. If only one day, I can be as strong as two adults. Even Garlot, who was still full of worries just now, was attracted by the powerful aura of Inuarashi and cat viper at this time. As for Pedro, he involuntarily clenched the hilt of the sword at his waist. In Pedro's heart, there is a shame that he will never forget. That is, the experience of Wan Guo in the territory of the Four Emperors. If I can have the strength of two bosses at that time, I don't need to beg for mercy from that ugly old woman, and I will be drawn 50 years of life. Pedro thought unwillingly, even though he is still in his prime, in fact, he has not many years to live. Just as the confrontation between Inulan and Cat Viper became more and more fierce, the aura of both sides also rose to the climax, when the battle was about to come. Without warning, a faint voice suddenly came down from the sky. So lively, Xiao Xiao ha ha ha, it seems that I am here at the right time. The moment they heard this sound, the Fur tribe's first reaction was to be astonished at the source of the sound. To know, Zuowu, located on the main back of Elephant 4.6, is 10,000 meters above the sky. Clouds are floating around, and besides the vast universe, how can there be anyone above your head? All the Fur people, including Pedro, subconsciously raised their heads and looked towards the sky. The moment I saw a strange, but let everyone see, a magnificent figure that was inexplicably panicked, slowly drifting down from the dome at infinity. With sword eyes and star eyebrows, his expression is indifferent, standing with his hands holding his hands, his eyes are dreadful, and people dare not look at him. At the moment when his figure appeared, the powerful aura formed by the combination of Inugong and Cat Viper was like a snowflake touching a flame, and it melted instantly. And the vegetation on Zhao Island suddenly seemed to die, and fell silent. The air seems to be stagnant. Inu Lan and Cat Viper realized that something was wrong, and immediately stopped and raised their heads at the same time. When he saw the top of the sky, the figure of the man who seemed to be in the center of heaven and earth, his expression suddenly changed, and he said in amazement. Shichibukai, the dark middleman joker who colluded with Kaido. Why are you here? Chapter 102. The Fur clan trembles like the voice of the Lord. Advertisement. Inu Lan and Cat Viper were shocked at first, followed by fierce expressions on their faces. Although the two had a very bad relationship after Kazuki Oden's death. But when it comes to the enemies of the old master, they still can't help stand together and share the same enemy. And the reason why they knew that Dover and Kaido were in collusion was because a message from a mysterious person in Wanokuni told the two of them more than a year ago. The news also said that Kazuki Oden's daughter, Kazuki Hiyori, seemed to have been taken away by this man. Dover felt a little surprised when he heard the words of Inuarashi and Cat Viper. Few people outside know about him and Kaido, let alone Zo, who is far away from the world. It seems that someone inside Wanokuni secretly passed on the news. But Dover didn't care much either. The person who passed the news was just the former Kazuki Oden department. Dover's cuffs were slightly wavy, and a thin shadow swept toward the two people below. Inuarashi and Cat Viper were shocked. From the unknown source, he also learned that the man in front of him is far from ordinary Shichibukai. When they first arrived at the Ghost Island, they had a hard fight with their greatest enemy, Four Emperors Kaido, and they didn't seem to lose the wind at all. And the power from the moment he appeared just now is even more powerful than this person, and it is definitely of the Four Emperors level. Even though Inu Lan and Cat Viper are not weak in strength, where are they really so arrogant that they can rival the Four Emperors? Therefore, in the face of Dover's understatement and flying towards them, the cold hair of Inu Lan and Cat Viper stood upside down. On the other end, after Pedro saw Dover's figure, the muscles of his whole body were already tense, his fists were tightly clenched, and bloodshot eyes appeared to appear in the leopard's pupils. He has been abused by the Four Emperors' aunt, so he is more sensitive to the breath of the Four Emperors' class powerhouse. This sensitivity, in fact, is a kind of fear carved into the bone. Brother Pedro. Garrett beside him, seeing the always strong and calm Brother Pedro, his body was trembling slightly at this time, and he couldn't help but call out anxiously. Garlot's voice suddenly awakened Pedro from the nightmare. He took a deep breath, pulled out the long sword around his waist, and said with a solemn expression like never before. Gallo, later, if there is a fight, you will run away desperately. What? Garlot was stunned. Judging from the expressions of Lord Inulan and Cat Viper boss, Garrett also knew that the man in the sky might be a bad person. But in any case, the other party is just one person, and they have hundreds of people. What's more, the Fur race itself is the war beast race, and the strength of each individual is not weak. And at the time of the full moon, it will evolve into the form of a moon lion, and its strength will skyrocket. That's it. When they face a mere person, do they still need to flee desperately? Seeing that Garrett didn't seem to understand, Pedro sighed and said. You have been in Zuowu and have never been to the outside world. I don't know how powerful the Four Emperors level is. It is not surprising, but... Pedro's tone was full of unprecedented solemnity. Gallo, you must remember that facing a Four Emperors class powerhouse, even if the Fur clan has a population that is several times larger, it is not the enemy of the opponent. This remark was extremely heavy, and it caused a terrible storm in Garlot's heart. She couldn't help raising her head, staring blankly at the man standing with her hands in the air. Advertisement. Is there really such a terrible person in the world? Isn't even the Fur clan that is several times more than an opponent at all? Just as Garlot was in extreme shock, Pedro suddenly shouted. Not good. Lifting the sword rushed in the direction of Inuarashi and Cat Viper. It turned out that Pedro also saw the shadow of Dover. Although she couldn't see the power of Dover's move. But he has no doubt that the random blow of the Four Emperors level powerhouse is probably not the Duke Inulan and the boss of the Cat Viper. It can be safe and sound. Inu Lan and Cat Viper naturally understand this truth too. The two know the power of the Four Emperors Kaido, and the man who can stand alone with Kaido without losing the wind is terrifying, one can imagine. Inu Lan and Cat Viper, at the same time, gather their luck and work 100 times more energy, ready to use their strongest moves to deal with the opponent's seemingly random blow. However, just when Pedro was very anxious, afraid that he would not have time to help. Just when Inuarashi and Cat Viper tried their best to make their own powerful moves. Just when Garlot and all members of the Fur clan raised their throats in their hearts. In the air, the man who seemed to be standing in the center of the sky suddenly heard a faint voice. Don't be so nervous, just a letter. Quote. As soon as the faint voice came to my ears, Inu Lan, Cat Viper, Pedro, everyone was stunned, and the movements of their hands also subconsciously stopped. Is it a letter? They couldn't help but focus on the thin shadow that was so close to them. Looking at it, isn't it just a simple letter? Ha 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 ha, it turned out to be just a letter, which is great. Someone sat down on the ground like a collapse. Just now, the heavy atmosphere that the air is about to freeze makes his heart seem to be pressing on a mountain. Many members of the Fur tribe are also relieved like this one. As for Inuarashi, Cat Viper and Pedro in the center, they looked at each other and couldn't help but smile wryly. The other party just handed over a letter, and he was so nervous. The three of them also realized that the shirts behind their backs were all soaked in cold sweat. After the three of Inulan smiled bitterly, they couldn't help being silent. The power of the Four Emperors level powerhouse is really amazing. Even if it was just a non-aggressive wave, the three of them dared not to be negligent. If this continues, when can we avenge the Four Emperors Kaido? The three of them couldn't help being extremely heavy, but at this time they still did not dare to relax their vigilance. Inu Lan took the letter and looked at it with Cat Viper and Pedro. The next moment, the three of them were shocked. In his eyes, there was an incredible look at the same time. Advertisement. There is also an indescribable color of ecstasy. It was like an instant, from hell to heaven, even the Cat Vipers and Inu Lan couldn't help but tremble with excitement. At this time, a unique mark of the Kazuki clan, this is a letter written by Miss Hiwa. There can be no mistake. It turned out that the letter from Dover. It was given by Riwa when he left Wanokuni. The purpose of Dover's visit to Zhao this time is naturally to conquer the Fur family, and to give a great boost to Japan in the near future in his work in Wanokuni. Things seem to be very clear. The terrible man in front of him didn't really collude with Kaido. Its real purpose is to overthrow Kaido. The three of Inu Lan couldn't hide the ecstasy and excitement in their hearts. With such a strong helping out, the possibility of success in the future defeat of Kaido is undoubtedly greatly increased. This kind of ecstasy, let Inu Lan, Cat Viper, and Pedro be there, in the unknown and shocked eyes of the Fur tribe, directly to Dover in the air, bowed on one knee. Meeting your lord, please forgive the next few people. I didn't know Taishan just now, which offended my lord. Next, everything is simple. Under the instructions of the three of Inuran, the Fur clan turned good and bad into joy, and they all regarded Dover as the most distinguished guest. As for 677 going to Wanokuni to help out and overthrow Kaido in the future, everyone is excited. Garlot patted his chest, his little rabbit-like face, and smiled again. The man who made her feel completely incapable of feeling bad in the first place was not an enemy of the Fur clan, but a friend of Miss Hiwa. It was a great result. Dover did not stay in Zhao for too long. He took Inuarashi, Cat Viper, Pedro, and all the adult combat power of the Fur clan, and went to Wanokuni together. However, just before leaving, a voice that made Dover also feel extremely surprised, suddenly rang in his ears. Please bring me, I have been waiting for the master for thousands of years. The sound was dull and remote, as if it came from a remote savage era, full of incomparably ancient meaning. Dover's gaze couldn't help but glance down, the behemoth that could barely see the end. The voice just now was not made by the elephant master who carried the entire Zhao island, but which one? Seeing Dover suddenly stopped, and seeing Master Dover's gaze, he suddenly looked at the Lord Elephant underground. Inu Lan, Cat Viper and others couldn't help but shook again, with incredible surprises in their eyes. Master Dover, I heard the voice of the Lord Elephant. This is something that only Lord Kazuki Oden and the former One Piece King Dear D. Roger have done. Suddenly, the fur people who followed Dover couldn't help but have an urge to worship Dover. The Elephant Lord. Dover was also surprised. Immediately afterwards, a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Although I don't know what kind of mystery the Lord Elephant possesses, the destructive power of the Lord Elephant's unique huge size is more than 100 times that of Jack the Drow. With such a behemoth, Wanokuni's future, already foreseeable, will surely fall into Dover's pocket. Chapter 103 Coming back to Wanokuni, the spite of the serpent, the ecstasy of Kaido. Advertisement. Wanokuni. General House. Over the past year or so, the atmosphere in the General's mansion has been extremely depressing. Every servant was trembling all day long and couldn't sleep at night, for fear that it would make the adult unhappy, be beaten badly, and lose his life in the worst case. This is not alarmist. Over the past year or so, the general's mansion has been killed by General Orochi because of some small mistakes, or even unprovoked reasons that cannot be called mistakes, at least hundreds of people. One can imagine how the servants of the general's mansion were frightened. As for why General Orochi is more cruel and irritable than ever, everyone in the general's mansion also knows. That's because the general's favorite woman is also Wanokuni's most beautiful woman, Xiaozi. Since the grand banquet more than a year ago, she has never been to the general's mansion again. Ah, little purple, my little purple. In the sleeping hall of the big snake. There will be such a stern and angry roar every day. Accompanied by sound of crackling and breaking things. The guards waiting outside the hall were trembling and listening with pale faces. The voices inside the hall lasted for several hours. The big snake finally finished venting, a sickly flush on his face. However, the pain and deep-seated hatred in Da Snake's heart never diminished a bit. Joker, one day, I will kill you. I will kill you. The moment the snake lowered its head, a whisper of ultimate resentment rolled out of the snake's throat. Such vicious words are also cursed by the serpent every day. Because, it was the man who took away Xiaozi who should have belonged to him. However, even if the snake hates him deeply, he does not even dare to curse loudly, let alone let others hear it. It is because that man has brought huge wealth and arms to Wanokuni over the past year. In particular, I heard that even the smile fruit has been successfully developed recently. This makes the backer of Orochi, Kaido, that guy ecstatically can't sleep all day, and warns him repeatedly that he must not go to the Joker woman again, otherwise he may not be spared. Therefore, Orochi can only bury his hatred towards Joker deeply. With that, he even hated Kaido. This is the root cause that the snake is becoming more and more perverted and crazy this year. But, Orochi thought he cursed Joker, no one knew. But he didn't know that in the corner outside his bedroom, there was a figure hidden in the darkness with a mocking smile on his face. His face is long and narrow, his hairstyle looks like a single horn, and he carries a samurai sword on his back. The true identity of Kwang Shi Lang is actually Xuanjiro, one of Kazuki Oden's vassals and one of the Scarlet Knights. After Oden's death, his appearance changed drastically and he became the boss of the gangster, and then became the guard next to Oden. While collecting evidence of Oden's crimes, he secretly protected Miss Hai and the alias Xiaozi. Advertisement. Naturally, Denjiro had already known the true relationship between Hiwa and that man. When he heard the persistent and brutal serpent, he clearly hated the man, but didn't even dare to curse loudly. The ironic smile on Xuanjiro's mouth could not help but expand. At the same time, on the island of ghosts, Baiju Kaido is in a better mood today than ever before. He has drunk hundreds of bowls of wine in a row. Ha ha ha. Kaido drank a large bowl of wine again and drank it in one gulp. After a burp, he burst into laughter. Joker, Joker, you are finally here, lousy can't wait any longer. Original. Today is Dover. After more than a year, again Kun is coming to Wanokuni. Moreover, it will also bring as many smile fruits as it is said to be as many as 20. No wonder Kaido is so happy. Hey, Quinn, who was holding his mustache, saw that Kaido's boss seemed a little uncomfortable, so he said to the next one. Hurry up and look outside the country. Has Lord Joker arrived? Yes, Xiao I didn't dare to neglect, so he turned around and ran away. Queen. On the side, the black masked Jin with wings on his back said. If that adult wants to come, he won't be able to find out with the rubbish. Quinn sneered at Jin and sneered in his heart. Of course he knows this truth. The command just now was clearly shown to Boss Kaido on purpose, so he came to please Boss Kaido. Jin, sooner or later, I will take your place and become the first person under Kaido boss. Quinn thought triumphantly, but didn't bother to pay attention to Jin on his face, patted Jack on the shoulder on the other side, and smiled. Jack, smile can be developed successfully, you are also indispensable. Punk Hazard, which is indispensable for the development of smile, was originally Jack, who took the initiative to ask for it regardless of the danger. Although Jack was only beaten unilaterally in the battle with Kizaru, he still held the opponent for a period of time, which is considered a great contribution. Jack puffed up his chest when he heard the words, but he said in a rare humility. I should do it all. If the two elder brothers go, they will definitely do better than the younger brother. Although Jack is a reckless man, he respects Quinn and Jin. Just when Quinn wanted to say something more, suddenly, an inexplicable and depressed power seemed to be pressing on everyone's hearts from afar away. Quinn's face changed, and he looked up in the direction of the Flower City. Jin and Jack also had solemn expressions, looking in the same direction as Quinn. I saw that in the sky above the Flower City, there was a figure that even they couldn't look directly at, descending majestically. Advertisement. The clouds and mist all over his body, like a god descending to the earth, stepping on the top of the cloud, making it impossible for people to see his true face and the surrounding situation. But only with the repressive conqueror's haki, which seems to be more tyrannical than a year ago, and even the boss of Kaido didn't have it, the Quinn trio knew who that person was. Boom. There was a loud noise of cracking the porcelain bowl. Kaido smashed the wine bowl and suddenly stood up from his seat, haha laughing wildly. Joker, you are finally here. In the next second, Kaido eagerly ordered the following people. Hurry up, send someone to invite Joker over. And the closer the Flower City General Mansion, naturally, earlier and more clearly realized the sudden and powerful pressure. Hidden in the sleeping hall, the serpent that was cursing Dover secretly, violently beat a spirit, and the ugly square face subconsciously revealed a look of horror. He felt that breath. That is definitely the breath of Joker. But thinking that the enemy he hated to the bone had come to Wanokuni, Snake couldn't think of revenge. He couldn't help trembling and shaking, for fear that the curse just now would be heard by that terrible man. Outside the temple, Denjiro also trembled slightly, but he was not as frightened as the Orochi, but a surprise, an incomparable surprise. Denjiro looked at the sky in awe, the figure that couldn't be seen at all, and the meaning of worship came into his heart. A man with such a terrifying power, even his old master, Kazuki Oden can't do it. Above the sky, the one who was surrounded by clouds is Dover. He didn't intend to care about his arrival, whether anyone in Wanokuni was happy or feared. With a wave of his big hand, he took all the fur people and landed at Xiaozi's residence at an incredible speed, Wang Jiao Jiao, which was also a luxurious manner with his name. As soon as the figure fell, he felt his breath, and he couldn't help but ran out of joy. The more rounded and graceful little purple, like a swallow returning home, threw himself into his arms. Dover lightly stroked Xiaozi's long, smooth and beautiful hair, while scanning the situation in the manor. There were a lot more people in the manor than when he left. These people, who have been gathered by Xiaozi for more than a year, are still loyal to the Kazuki clan. However, in the crowd, Dover also saw a slim figure that surprised him. The man was wearing a Prajna mask and a mace similar to Kaido was hung around his waist. The firstborn with a small red special horn, wearing a white kimono, a lanyard is casually tied to the slender waist. Judging from the curvilinear and bumpy posture, it is obviously a woman, but she is much taller than the average woman. The moment his person saw Dover, the big eyes hidden under the mask seemed to be ecstatic, even more intensely excited than Xiaozi. This woman is not Kaido's daughter Yamato. Who is she? Chapter 104 Yamato and Xiaozi, return to the Ghost Island. Advertisement. Yamato's heart at this time was indescribably excited. She looked not far ahead. The man who fell from the sky was surging with Haki, who seemed to be more majestic than a year ago, his heart seemed to be tightly bound by a big hand. Yamato used to worship Kazuki Oden. However, her adoration of Kazuki Oden is basically the brain supplement from her logbook, and she has never actually seen Oden. However, the worship of the man in front of him is different. When Yamato saw Dover for the first time more than a year ago, he was shocked and heartbroken for the other party's strong and decisive attitude that even overwhelmed his own old man. As a result, she almost subconsciously changed her admiration from Kazuki Oden to Dover. Even after Yamato left Wanokuni at Dover, he wanted to go out to sea and take an adventure with him. Unfortunately, Kaido was stopped by an angry Kaido. As a last resort, Yamato came to this manor. In Yamato I want to come, all places in Wanokuni, there is only this manor where that man lived, which is the closest to Dover. In this manor, Yamato met Xiaozi. I learned that Xiaozi turned out to be Kazuki Oden's daughter, Kazuki Hiyori. And, it's still that man's woman. When Yamato knew that Xiaozi, and the man she admired, secretly wanted to overthrow the old man's rule and save Wanokuni. Yamato was not only not angry, but overjoyed. She has also been dissatisfied with her old man's brutal rule for a long time. Aside from anything else, Yamato joined Xiaozi's camp, and became good best friends with Xiaozi. Inside and outside the manor, there are now so many old Kazuki clan members. In addition to Xiaozi's own identity, 680 Yamato is also indispensable. Otherwise, if you contact too many old ministries, Kaido and Osha will inevitably find clues. With Yamato covering up, there is nothing wrong. Knowing the reason for this, Dover couldn't help feeling a little bit ridiculous. He glanced at the extremely tall stature, and he knew that it was Kaido's daughter Yamato by just looking at the horns on his head. Yamato seemed to suddenly see the object of worship he thought about day and night, but he was so emotional that he couldn't say anything for a while. Dover couldn't help but sigh. This woman is really a filial daughter. Kaido has such a daughter who is totally not with him, how can he not fail? Dover now has 100% control over the future master Wanokuni. Beside, Xiaozi stuck to Dover for a while, then stood up from Dover's arms. After all, she is now the matriarch of the Kazuki clan, and in front of so many Kazuki clan's old tribes, she must also maintain her patriarch's tolerance. However, Xiaozi was still a little bit narrow, looking back and forth between Dover and Yamato. She actually never believed that Yamato really helped herself because of the so-called worship. In Xiaozi's view, it must be Yamato who is infatuated with the man in front of him. Just like him, he will not hesitate to betray his father. This man has such charm. What are the benefits? I have to go to you. Xiaozime's eyes were watery, and she bit her bright, lustrous red lips slightly, and she had some groaning thoughts in her heart. Advertisement. But at this time, she naturally wouldn't play her daughter's petty temper with Dover. If she wanted to play, she would play at night. At the moment, Xiaozi met with everyone from the Fur tribe, including Inulan and Cat Viper, who almost cried with joy. Sighing and reminiscing about the past, I sighed at Oden's death. We must fight that B********** D from Kaido. There is also the villain, Oden, who deceived Lord Oden and turned Wanokuni into the hell it is today. We have been waiting for 15 years and can't wait any longer. The crowd is angry. The retainers of the Kazuki clan were all furious, and seemed to be looking for Kaido and Orochi to settle accounts now. In the past, they chose to be patient. On the one hand, there is no one like Xiaozi who is a descendant of the Kazuki clan to organize them. On the other hand, it is because the former mistress of the Kazuki clan, Kazuki, used the power of time and fruit to send a branch house minister 20 years later. When Odin was dying, he predicted that the best time to attack Kaido would be 20 years later. But at the moment, these are not important anymore. Because, they have the help of the man who is the top man who can hardly look directly at him. The stalwart figure that his man confronted Kaido more than a year ago has already deeply penetrated the hearts of the Kazuki clan and all his retainers. To say that Xiaozi is the backbone of the connection between them. That Dover is to make them completely determined to defeat Kaido in advance. Seeing everyone seem to be unable to wait any longer, Xiaozi said softly. Calm down everyone, now is not the best time to beg Kaido. But please believe me, that day will never be far away. Although Xiaozi is a daughter, she deserves to be the matriarch of the Kazuki clan in such a short period of time. With a few words, the retainers calmed down and were extremely convinced. When Inu Lan and Cat Viper saw this, they looked at each other and nodded secretly at the same time. Although Lord Odin still has a son, he will not appear until 5 years later. And, I'm afraid it's still the same kid as it was 20 years ago. If you want to come this way, it is better to let Mizrahe lead the Kazuki clan. Dover is also very satisfied with Xiaozi's contingency measures. He also noticed that Inulan and other Fur clan members also agreed that Xiaozi became the patriarch of the Kazuki clan. In this way, Kaido and Osnake will be overthrown in the future, and Xiaozi will become Wanokuni's new general. At this time, suddenly a respectful and awe-inspiring shout came from outside the door. Master Joker, Boss Kaido, please go to the Ghost Island. When Dover heard this, the corner of his mouth ticked. It seems that Kaido really can't wait any longer. Kaido can't wait to invite him to the Island of Ghosts, besides the smile fruit in Dover's hands, what else is there for? Now, Dover simply spoke to Xiaozi and the others, and his figure disappeared in place. Yamato was taken aback when he saw this, and finally recovered from the surging of seeing the idol. I couldn't help feeling anxious, for fear that Dover would leave Wanokuni again and quietly. Advertisement. Yamato hurriedly turned around and went to the Ghost Island. However, it was stopped by the smart little Z. The little purple-red lips were lightly pressed, beautiful and moving, and smiled. Sister, don't worry, our husband, Mr. Kun, will be back later. Xiaozi was worried. If Yamato followed, he would show his feet in front of Kaido, but it would be bad. On the Island of Ghosts, the carnival continues. And because of the long-awaited smile fruit of Kaido boss that Joker is about to bring, the atmosphere is more enthusiastic than before. The cowardices are staggered, you push me in FK, they all look ecstatic. However, the warm atmosphere progressed to halfway. An unpredictable and stalwart figure has come without warning, among the people. Ah, that is, all members of the Kaido pirate group were shocked. Joker. Quote. Joker is here, I can't see how he appeared. The speed is too fast. Even the 3 plagues were shocked in my heart. They just failed to react to Dover's speed. This man is stronger than a year ago. Jin and Quinn were shocked. Generally speaking, those who reach the level of 4 emperors will not have much growth in their strength for decades. Because, the strength of the 4 emperors level powerhouse itself is about to reach the apex of the world, and the space to rise is too small. But, this law, for Dover, does not seem to apply. Kaido found this problem too, and couldn't help feeling a little bit amazed. A year ago, the man in front of him almost broke his thunderous 8 trigrams with that inexplicable move. And with the passage of time, its strength can continue to increase. Doesn't that mean that sooner or later, oneself will not be the opponent's opponent at all? Kaido's involuntary alarm bell made a big alarm, and Dover's fear of Dover grew deeper. Kaido and the 3 plagues didn't know it. In this year, as the power of the Donquixote clan expanded, Dover received more and more system rewards. Coupled with Dover's previous experience with 4 emperors and admiral, his understanding of cultivation has taken a step forward. Adding the two together, Dover's strength has made considerable progress, which is naturally not surprising. Kaido strongly suppressed his fear of Dover, with a cordial smile on his face. Joker, you can count it. Bring that thing, right? Kaido is straight to the point, making no secret of his urgency. Chapter 105 Powerful Legion, Skyfeather Slash and Yan Mo. Advertisement. Dover flicked it with one hand. A box flew towards Kaido. Kaido hurriedly caught it carefully, opened it, and immediately showed ecstasy. Ha 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 ha. Bring so many smiles, Joker, you really have them. Kaido patted his chest to ensure. I will definitely let Snake and give you more Seastone technology. Earlier, although Dover had acquired the Seastone craft, it was only part of the Wanokuni Seastone craft. After all, before he took out his smile, Kaido and Snake couldn't come up, so he sent out his old books. My fellows, seeing Boss Kaido so happy, they all booed up, look at it. When I look at it, everyone is stunned. I saw that the box was filled with dozens of strange fruits with strange shapes and spiral patterns, which was no different from the real devil fruit. It's too similar. If you didn't know it in advance, I can't believe this is a man-made devil fruit. That's it. As expected of Master Joker. Everyone in Kaido Pirates, it was the first time that they saw so many devil fruits, and they were all excited. At this time, Dover said lightly, smile fruit is not easy to make, and the success rate is pitifully low. I can't guarantee how many qualified devil fruits there are. Kaido listened, but the smile on his face didn't decrease by half, he said impatiently. Then let someone eat it first. Immediately, Kaido made a big move. Outside, more than 100 sturdy young people of all kinds came. Seeing Kaido and Dover, they immediately knelt down in fear. Get up. Kaido waved impatiently. These people are the ones who have been trained by Kaido and tried to eat the fruits of smile. And once someone gains the ability, he will immediately be incorporated into the violent legion called Barbarian that Kaido has longed for. Dover glanced at the people who were about to eat smile. Among them, only a small part of them can obtain the devil fruit ability. The rest of the people will die because of the smile of the next product. At the moment, Kaido personally selected the strongest 50 among them, and distributed the smile fruits in the box to them one by one. The 50 people selected were all strong and mighty. Looking at the smile fruit in their hands, they couldn't help swallowing, their expressions were extremely excited. They understand that once they acquire the devil fruit ability, they can be promoted to Kaido's boss and important cadre in an instant, and their status will be different from before. Little ones. Kaido roared, and there was a frenetic color in his huge pupils. Advertisement. Eat the fruits in your hands and gain stronger power. Oh, there was also a frenzy of cheers all around. The next moment, 50 strong men bite the smile fruit in their hands. Gudong. There was the sound of swallowing. Except for Dover, everyone's eyes were staring at the 50 people unblinkingly, wanting to know what the final result would be like. What? Soon, 2 people screamed. The whole body was bruised and fell to the ground with a thump, as if dead. However, Kaido and the people under his hands only glanced at the 2 of them, then immediately turned their attention to the rest of the people. Over time, more and more people are dying, and many people die in half-human and half-animal attitudes. Obviously, there is a problem with the acquired abilities. In the end, there were only 10 people who were still standing on the spot and 2 or 3 times stronger than they were just now. Well, although more than half of the people have failed, Kaido is still ecstatic after getting 10 barbarians who have successfully acquired abilities. He clenched his fists tightly, his muscles bulged like a hill, staring at the 10 people in front of him, as if he saw his future ambitions have been realized. Joker. Kaido J ran turned to Dover, unable to control his emotions and shouted loudly. Are there more smiles? I want more, more. In the face of a thunderous roar, even the 3 plagues are shrinking their necks. The mood of the boss Kaido is about to lose control, which is really scary. The plague Quinn was even more secretly worried. Because once the boss Kaido shows such an expression, he will never allow anyone to reject him. Otherwise, the endless anger of Kaido boss will surely usher in. Quinn couldn't help looking nervously at the man who was still drinking calmly. Dover didn't even look at Kaido. After drinking, he said slowly. That won't work, Kaido, making smiles can be time-consuming and expensive. Quinn's heart hit his throat instantly. They are all ready for the next moment, they will pull their legs away. Because he knows well that once the 2 existing in front of him have a conflict, if he stays on the scene, he will definitely be affected by Chiyu. After more than a year of money, when Dover and Kaido faced off for the first time, Quinn understood this truth. But, what Quinn was worried about did not happen. Because Kaido has reacted, the object he is facing now is not the subordinates or little ghosts he usually kills, but the powerhouse of his level. Ha 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 ha. In that case, after Beasts, Pirates and Wanokuni, give Joker your money and double it, what do you think? Advertisement. Kaido changed his face quickly. In order to get more smiles, he did not hesitate to double the money given to Dover. There is no reason for not accepting the benefits of giving it to your lips. ... For flowers. Dover agreed, but also returned, and will definitely speed up the production of smiles in the future. Kaido was overjoyed and invited Dover to the evening banquet. Seeing the ecstasy on Kaido's face, Dover sneered in his heart. If Kaido knew that the smile he obtained was only a defective product selected by Dover, and Dover already had an army of nearly 1,000 people, would Kaido still laugh so happy? Night. An extremely grand banquet, as usual, was held at General Wanokuni's mansion. The big snake greeted Dover with a flattering smile. When I saw the beautiful woman who was nestled next to Dover, who was as beautiful as a peony, and eclipsed all the singers and all the villagers in the mansion as soon as she appeared, the charming smile on the face of the snake couldn't help but freeze. But the stagnation was only a moment, and the big snake's smile was followed by more enthusiasm. 0. The beautiful woman nestled in Dover's arms is naturally Xiaozi. Coming to the general's mansion again after a lapse of more than a year, Xiaozi's mentality has been very different from the past. In the past, when she came to the general's mansion, she had always been cautious and smiled for fear of revealing a little flaw. And now, not only does she no longer need to pretend, the once high General Wanokuni, the snake, even looks at her face and bows to her. And all of this is because of the man who held his weak boneless waist. A banquet. Kaido is crazy. Dover was indifferent and let the beauty sitting on his lap deliver the wine to his mouth. And the real master here, the serpent, is like he is in hell, and his heart is bitten by thousands of poisonous insects. The woman who obviously should belong to her, she is in the lap of another man at this moment, but she still has to whisper to that man and keep ingratiating herself. This almost made the snake depressed, almost crazy. When the warm but weirder banquet was over, Dover and Xiaozi came to the latter's wing. Xiaozi suddenly left Dover, covering her red mouth, giggling. A few more times like this, I'm afraid he won't have to take revenge on the snake, he himself will die madly. Dover looked at the beauty's slim figure, charming eyes, bright smile, and fair face of Shungshe. He couldn't help but stretched out his hand and hugged the beauty's soft waist, which seemed to have no bones. Unexpectedly, the beautiful woman twisted her waist and escaped the man's big hand. Although Xiaozi missed a man very much in her heart, there was one thing she had to take out beforehand. When Xiaozi turned back, he actually took back 2 scabbards. One is as white as clouds, and the other is as dark as iron. Little Z whispered, "This is what I brought from Master Bladesmith Fitch. It was originally my father's saber. The white one is called Tianyu Yuzhen, and the black one is called Pavilion Demon." Chapter 106 Tear the sword light of the night and become the black sword Yanmo. Seeking subscription. Advertisement. Tianyu Yuzhan, known as a famous sword that can cut the sky. Yanmo is even more known as the magic knife that can conquer hell. Both are one of the 21 jobs that belong to the big knife. The former Kazuki Oden relied on these 2 famous knives to use the Taoyuan 10 punches, which left indelible damage to the abdomen of Kaido, who is the top defensive force and claims to be indestructible. Of course, it was because of Kazuki Oden's own strength. But it is enough to prove that these 2 famous knives are extraordinary. Even with Dover's current strength, these 2 knives can bring him little help. Dover is also quite interested in these 2 knives. Especially, it is the sword of hell that is said to absorb Haki as a driving force and transform it into a powerful destructive power, Yanmo. Xiaozi also seemed to see that Dover was obviously more interested in Yanmo. She smiled and handed Yanmo to Dover. "Just know you will like it better." The moment Dover took Yanmo and pulled it out of the scabbard. Suddenly, a strange feeling surged into his heart. It was as if something in his body was sucked away by the knife in his hand. Buzzing. Yanmo suddenly uttered a greedy sword cry, and the long and narrow silver blade trembled slightly. Xiaozime's eyes widened. She had never seen such an abnormal appearance before Yanmo. "Yanmo seems to be excited." 680 inches Xiaozi murmured in a low voice. Even if Yanmo was in her father's hands, she had never been so excited. However, Dover frowned. Although the Haki absorbed by Yanmo was only a drop in the bucket for him. But Yanmo absorbed his Haki on his own terms, but Dover couldn't allow it. "Stop." Dover looked at Yanmo in his hand and spoke lightly. His eyes were indifferent, like a god on the 9 heavens, and his tone was beyond doubt. But the aura that suddenly exudes from his body is like a demon king from the polar abyss. Even if Yanmo can cut hell, under the envelope of this breath, he can't help turning the excited sword cry into a fearful wailing voice. Yanmo's long and narrow sword body also trembled more severely. And this time, it was because of fear. Xiaozi, who has been clinging to this scene, couldn't help but sigh. Even the unconscious Yanmo, under the man's tolerance, would be afraid. Just a moment. In the original book, Zoro was full of fighting spirit and wanted to conquer, but he succumbed to Dover. Become extremely obedient, and no longer dared to absorb Dover, the new owner's Haki without authorization. Seeing Janma surrender to him, Dover also wanted to try the power of Janma. He wrapped Xiaozi's soft waist with one hand, and when he moved his figure, he came to the roof. At this time, it was late at night, and the night sky of Wanokuni was as dark as ink, with no trace of light visible. Dover exalted the demons. Yanmo had completely surrendered to Dover, and Dover only had a thought, and Yanmo immediately began to absorb Haki again. And this time, thanks to Dover's permission, the speed and quantity of Yanmo's absorption of Haki are completely incomparable to the previous time. The unprecedented Haki, far surpassing the previous owner Kazuki Oden, made Yanmo emit a bright sword beyond his control. Buzzing. In the void, it seems that there are countless swords, responding together. Xiaozi, who was beside her, had already covered her open mouth at the moment. The incomparable strength of the man made her mind deeply agitated. At the same time, Xiaozi didn't notice that under the house, behind a big tree, there was still a figure witnessing this scene. Advertisement. His stature is extremely tall, with uneven curves and a mace hanging from his waist. It is Kaido's daughter, Yamato. During the day, Yamato wanted to show his admiration to Dover, and wanted to follow him out on adventures. But when Dover went to the Ghost Island and Yamato wanted to follow, Xiaozi stopped her and said to her, "Sister, don't worry, our husband, Mr. Kun, will be back later." The phrase, "our husband Mr. Kun," suddenly made Yamato, who has always been careless and self-proclaimed, flushed and his whole body became hot. Fortunately, she was wearing a Prajna mask at that time, and Xiaozi didn't notice her strangeness. But Yamato's heart is already in chaos. She didn't understand any relationship between men and women. When Xiaozi said that, she thought that worship was love, and if she wanted to love a man, she would marry him as a wife. No matter how straightforward his character is, how can Yamato say such a thing? As a result, Yamato became shy. When Dover returned from the Ghost Island and the general mansion, she didn't even have the courage to show up. "I only dare to hide here at night, peeping at that man. Really too powerful." When she saw the man she was thinking of, finally appeared, and between gestures, making such a vision, Yamato's heart couldn't help beating violently. And the next moment, Yamato's delicate body trembled even more, completely sinking into it. The man, facing the bottomless dark night sky, lightly stroked. "Want that? Extremely brilliant, shining to the extreme." The dazzling sword light flashed out from the tip of the sword named Yanmo. As soon as Jian Mengfu left the sword, he became as large as several tens of feet in a flash, like a huge crescent moon, rushing into the dark night sky. For an instant, the night sky was illuminated. The darkness of Rumo, like a heavy black coffin, was cut abruptly from the middle by the extremely bright sword light. And as the sword beam continued to rise, the range of being cut became larger and longer, and the distance became longer and longer. It wasn't until Janmang sank into the unreachable universe that this tearing finally stopped. However, the brilliance that Janmang passed by has not dissipated for a long time. As a result, a shocking scene that has never been seen before and can be recorded in the annals of history appeared in the sky above Wanokuni. Hey, look at the sky. In the territory of Wanokuni, some people chatting outside occasionally looked up, and JD was astonished as a wooden chicken. When the reaction came over, I was immediately so excited that I couldn't myself, and shouted to the family still in the house. Come out, look at the sky. Huh, the family was puzzled and mumbled, Wanokuni's nights are all dark, so what's so beautiful? No, it's not the same. Leave it alone, come out soon. The family had to come out reluctantly. When I looked up, it instantly turned into a stone sculpture. This is a miracle, the family screamed tremblingly. The same scene happened in various places in Wanokuni. It didn't take long before most of the people of Wanokuni ran out on the street, looking up at the sky, excited. A miracle, God appeared. Some people even shouted his exhaustedly. We, Wanokuni, can be saved. Because of the greed and violence of the big snake, most people in Wanokuni live a life of hunger and hunger all day long. There is help, please God save us and give us some food. The people knelt to the ground one after another, shouting piously and tremblingly. Advertisement. On the street, the sudden noise made the snake who was hiding in the dark room venting wildly, and the jealous and hatred at the banquet just now became even more angry. Noisy. What a noisy. Behead all those spooky people for lousy and kill them. The big snake was in the dark room, and the roar of anger made the whole dark room shocked. The soldiers guarding outside the door were trembling and stuttering. Master General, outside, there is a miracle outside. A miracle. The snake heard it, and became even more angry. He smashed the door angrily, and shouted at the soldier. What shit miracle? Is there a god in Wanokuni? Yes, and only me, the snake. You gibberish guy. Da Snake was halfway through speaking, but was stunned. Because of the corner of his eye, he has already seen a corner of the sky. No way. The big snake looked up tremblingly. I saw that in the center of Wanokuni's always dark night sky, there was a long Milky Way across it at this time. It was originally the brilliance left by the place where the sword light passed, and in the eyes of the unknowing snake and the people, it was like a bright Milky Way hanging above the night sky. This scene that Wanokuni has never seen before is truly breathtaking. It's no wonder that the people of Wanokuni, and even the soldiers of the general's mansion, regarded it as a miracle. But Da Snake has a broader knowledge, he seems to have thought of something, and almost subconsciously turned his gaze to a certain direction. There, it was the direction of Dover's manor. Seeing the beginning of the Milky Way, it was really there. The snake's calf weakened and his butt fell to the ground. The panic and anxiety in my heart reached the culmination at this moment. Is that man really a god? The big snake that fell to the ground had endless fear in his pupils. On the island of ghosts, Kaido, who had drunk too much at the dinner, was leaning on the seat in a daze. But suddenly, Kaido stood up abruptly. With the unique induction of the strong, he felt that Wanokuni had just appeared an unusual aura. Kaido looked up, shaking his whole body. Kaido was the first time to perceive the extremely sharp danger of the shining galaxy hanging above the night sky. Is it Janmang? This length is too terrifying, right? The muscles on Kaido's face twitched slightly, and the X-shaped wound in his abdomen was also aching at this time. 4.6 The man who left him this indelible wound used 2 famous knives. When Kaido saw that the origin of the sword light was Dover's manor, he took a deep breath, but then slowly sat down, whispering that no one could hear, came out of his throat. Joker. If someone who knows Kaido enough, he will know when he hears Kaido's whispers. Kaido, this is clearly the name that was chanted to him, and the expression of fear to the extreme. On the roof of the manor. Dover was also quite satisfied with the power he wielded at will. This knife is not bad, I will accept it. Dover said with a chuckle to Xiaozi beside him. And Xiaozi, after seeing the miracle created by the man's casual wave, has been stunned for a long time. It wasn't until Dover talked to her that Xiaozi reacted from the endless shock, but for a while she still couldn't fully recover. Is this really a demon? Xiaozi's beautiful eyes looked at the sword in Dover's hand, and even wondered whether the famous sword she had just given out was Yanmo. Because, in her impression, even her father Kazuki Oden, using Yanmo, has never exerted such a great power. Xiaozi stared at Yanmo in a daze. Zhao Chushuer was shocked again. The black one, Yanmo turned into a black knife. Chapter 107 Dark Fruit appears, Dark Exchange. Advertisement. Black knife. In pirate world, it is not just the color of the knife. The greater meaning of it is the ultimate of the sword, the highest level of the sword. Generally speaking, famous knives are ranked as good knives 50 work, great knives 20 work, and supreme great knives 12 work according to their rank and level. This is based on the manufacturing materials and forging process of famous knives. However, there is a kind of knife, even if the material and forging process are very poor, it can be continuously cultivated and evolved by the knife holder, and eventually it can even be on the top of the famous knife. That is the black knife. As long as the master's haki is strong enough, as long as the master's will is strong enough, any knife can become a black knife. As far as the world today is concerned, the only known black knives are the black knives used by the world's largest swordsman, Eagle-Eye Dracula Mahawk Knight. This knife is known as the strongest black knife in the world. In addition, there is the saber once used by Wanokuni hero Ryoma, which was stolen by Moria who lost to Kaido many years ago, and Wanokuni national treasure Chushui is also a black sword. All in all, black knives are extremely rare, even more rare than supreme knives. If any swordsman in Pirate World wants to defeat the world's largest swordsman Eagle Eye, the first thing he needs to do is to cultivate his sword into a black sword. It's just this, it's too difficult. However, this was extremely difficult, and even Xiao Zi's father Kazuki Oden could not accomplish it, but 11 was easily accomplished by the man in front of him. In the little purple eyes, there is endless splendor and moisture. This man is so powerful that she can't help but be intoxicated. Below, Yamato, who has been looking up at Dover closely and admiringly, also noticed this. The adoration of Dover has reached an extreme point. The emotions of the two women are indescribable, but Dover is calm and calm. He put Yan Mo, who was promoted to a black sword, into the scabbard and hung it around his waist at will. He grabbed Xiao Zi's weak and boneless waist, and was about to return to the room again. Just leave the roof on the occasion. Looking down somewhere, Dover disappeared with Xiao Zi. Yamato's heart beats fiercely like never before. It was flushed like a sunset in the sky, and poured over her pretty face under her prajna mask. Just now, the man glanced at her, but her eyes matched his. He must have noticed himself. Yamato was almost dizzy with shyness. I am also a little worried. Will that man think that hiding in the dark is not bad for him? Yamato's head was dizzy, and he didn't know when he returned to his room. Dover did not stay in Wanokuni for a few days. Because, Stussy, who has become his intelligence queen, came news. Dark fruit, there is a clue. This powerful Logia fruit is extremely important to Dover's plan to be implemented. He set off immediately and left Wanokuni under the attachment of Xiaozi. Advertisement. Looking at the man's stalwart back, Xiaozi's big beautiful eyes were shining with tears, but Shuquan was wiped tightly. Last night, in addition to their tenderness and affection, the two naturally discussed their actions in Wanokuni in the near future. Thinking of those plans, Xiaozi's heart immediately became firm. She wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, turned around, restored the bearing of her new patriarch of the Kazuki clan, and gave orders. During this time, everyone should practice hard. The day when we take back Wanokuni is not far away. Oh, there was a burst of exhilarating cheers. Xiaozi went on to say to Inu Tanlin and Cat Viper who were standing in the forefront. Thanks to the two seniors, go to the Tushan Bandit and invite the leader Shu Tian-wan out there. Judian Maru, the villain Ashura boy who used to run wild for 9 miles, became one of the 9 heroes of the Akasaka after being defeated by Odin. The strength is very powerful. Jack the Drow was injured in the original book. Even Kaido was unwilling to kill him easily because of his fancy. If you can accept Judian Wan, it will be a great help for Xiaozi. However, he is only loyal to Odin and ignores Xiaozi, the old master's daughter. Inu Lan and Cat Viper nodded and left together. In the hearts of the two of them, they were actually curious, the news that passed from Wanokuni to Zuo more than a year ago, whether it was Judenmaru, an old guy who hadn't seen it for many years, passed it. In New World, there is a remote island that is extremely chaotic. This is a paradise for the wicked, an inaccessible place that even Marine can't reach. Here is one of the most important trading places in the Dark World. Inside, it is full of people from the outside world, an unimaginable variety and scarcity of various things, including weapons, slaves, resources, intelligence, and even assassination missions, etc. Even, sometimes, devil fruit will appear. But how precious is devil fruit? Even if people get a piece of it by chance, they will eat it themselves, and won't trade it at all. After all, once the devil fruit ability is obtained, in this increasingly chaotic world, there will be support for life and safety. This is the fundamental thing. However, today, on this dark exchange, after more than 10 years, another devil fruit that was taken out for trading appeared. Moreover, look at the weird patterns and shapes of that devil fruit, it looks like one of the legendary and strongest Logia dark fruit. At once, the entire dark exchange was a sensation. Everyone had an extremely greedy look, staring at the short and thin man who took out the dark fruit. The short and thin man was named Polly. Being stared at by so many pirates, villains and robbers who are famous in New World, Polly can't help but shrink from his thin body, and feel a little flustered in his heart. In fact, he didn't know how precious the devil fruit he was holding was. Because he picked this devil fruit from his own apple tree. He thought it was a real devil fruit, and regarded it as an upgraded apple. However, Polly, who was greedy for money, wanted to use this to cheat a lot of money in the dark world, so he brought the upgraded apple to the dark exchange. But at this moment, seeing everyone being so unabashedly greedy for the upgraded apple in his hand, Polly regretted it. Advertisement. Only then did he wake up, and he had the real devil fruit in his hand. But it's too late to regret. Polly is sure that if he dared to repent and say not to sell, he would definitely be torn to pieces by the bastards present. In that case, Polly gritted his teeth and shouted in a sharp voice. This devil fruit, I sell 1 billion Baileys, whoever gives the money first, I will give it to whoever. Polly thought, since he couldn't eat this evil demon fruit, he would simply use it to make a bigger fortune. His sharp voice echoed in the dark exchange. For a long time, no one responded to Polly. The voice of sneer sounded from the surroundings. Ha 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 ha, skinny monkey, do you still want to sell 1 billion Baileys? A big joke, with you, Lousy will not give you a penny, so what can you do? What an idiot. The value of dark fruit is far more than 1 billion Baileys. Even the op fruit, which once sold the highest price, may not be inferior to it. It is a sin for a weak person to own something like dark fruit. It is even more sinful to want to exchange it for money. Die, skinny monkey. Dark fruit belongs to lousy. Go to hell. A sneered, ironic voice came into Polly's ears, his eyes widened, unbelievable. However, in the next second, his head was cut off by a bald man, and his body was also violently robbed of dark fruit by countless villains, and he was trampled into meatloaf. But, the people who were all attracted to 680 by dark fruit did not notice that in the corner of the dark exchange, there was still a charming and beautiful petite beauty. The petite beauty is wearing a white coat on her upper body, her delicate and flowery sakura peach mouth, her legs in long stockings and her legs are tilted up against each other, and she is drinking tea gracefully. With its charming eyes and attractive face, who is it if it's not Stussy? The reason why Stussy was drinking tea quietly did not grab dark fruit. On the one hand, although it is the Shanghai thief villains on the field, none of them are her opponents of the Queen of the Pleasure District and former CP0 member. But on the other hand, the bigger reason is that she is diagonally opposite, the man who sits closer to the corner than her, and exudes a sword-like eagle-like aura. Stussy seemed to be drinking tea elegantly, but in fact, his heart was already extremely vigilant. There is even a trace of anxiety. Because, she recognized that the man in black sitting in the corner and carrying a huge long sword is Seven Warlords of the Sea, Hawkeye Mahawk, who has maintained the title of the world's #1 swordsman for many years. How come this guy is here? Stussy secretly said unlucky. As a spy for the government for many years, Hawkeye naturally knows her well. This person is withdrawn and has always been alone. However, the strength is too strong. According to rumors, he even had red hair with the 4 emperors and fought against him many times. Stussy thought that dark fruit would surely be caught this time, and the man who subdued her overbearing would definitely reward her. Unexpectedly, such a tricky figure would be killed halfway through. I can't solve this guy. Stussy is very self-aware. If Hawkeye also intends to take dark fruit, she can't help it. Stussy lowered her head, and Sakura's peach mouth took a sip of tea again. A gleam of light flashed in her beautiful eyes. My dear Joker, you should come here quickly. Chapter 108 Tit for Tat, Dover vs. Hawkeye. Advertisement. The Dark Exchange. The competition for dark fruit is getting fiercer. Blood splattered, stumped limbs and broken arms, everywhere. Whenever someone gets the dark fruit and is about to eat it in ecstasy, the next second, a dark arrow from nowhere will be killed. More and more people are dead. In the dark exchange with hundreds of people, the number of people in the blink of an eye was reduced tenfold. The entire exchange seems to be stained blood. Huh. Those who are still alive are all hung on their bodies and panting, but the craziness in their eyes is not reduced by half. However, the remaining dozens of people are ultimately the strongest evil party, and there are many big pirates who are quite famous in New World. The fierce competition just now let them know that it is difficult for them to win dark fruit in the hands of many powerful people alone. Even if you are not careful, you will fall to the ground, in the footsteps of the cold corpses. The wicked parties unanimously stopped, each stepped back, and at the same time, their eyes turned, scanning the entire dark exchange, looking for possible alliances. The scene quieted strangely for a while. Only the dark fruit, which is covered with strange spiral patterns, is still in the center alone. Hey, Kura, it's been a long time. Gia, are you interested in joining forces? Ha ha ha, since Bia you said so, let's join hands. Everyone approached the other wicked parties that they had known, or even heard of, to engage in the above dialogue. But they are also very clear in their hearts that the so-called alliance is only short-lived, and once dark fruit is actually obtained, the two sides will immediately turn their faces. This is also commonplace in the dark world, so it's not surprising. However, there are also many people who have not found a suitable ally, so they can't help but retreat. After all, the power is weak, and the possibility of successfully capturing dark fruit is almost impossible, but it will kill you. But if he wanted to escape like this, he was extremely unwilling to do so anyway. Therefore, these people, with ghost ideas, wanted to hide temporarily in the dark, and when the contention was about to end, they jumped out again to see if they could miss it. This small group of people quietly retreated to the corner, trying their best to shape their figure. Suddenly, a slight scream came from the corner. Stussy smiled brightly and retracted her white fingers. Just now, there was a hapless guy who retreated to her corner and was easily killed by her with finger pistol. Regarding the fierce competition on the court, and even the so-called alliances of the remaining evil parties, Stussy actually didn't care about it. Even among those wicked parties, there are indeed a few that are quite strong. But compared to the guy in the other corner, it's not worth mentioning. The afterglow of Stussy's beautiful eyes has been secretly watching the eagle eyes in the corner. When I saw that there were also fools who did not live or die, and hid towards the eagle eye. Moreover, the person suddenly saw the eagle eye, and after a shock, he immediately screamed with a trembling voice. 7 Warlords of the Sea, Mahawk, the world's largest swordsman, Hawkeye. You are here. Do you want to capture dark fruit too? Stussy's red mouth was like Sakura's peach, and he immediately hooked it. The man's voice was so loud that the entire dark exchange could be heard. Stussy wanted to see what the Hawkeye would do. If the latter is really going to capture dark fruit, then Stuss can only pray that Joker will come as soon as possible. But if Hawkeye just happens to be here, not for dark fruit, then it will naturally be the best result. I saw Mahawk wearing a black top hat and a black coat with sharp eyes like an eagle, and glanced at the evil party in front of him who was screaming because of seeing him. From the mouth. There are too many stupid people whose eyes are covered by greed in this sea. But now that you have run into me, your stupidity will end here. As soon as the voice fell, I don't know when, Hawkeye's hand was already holding a pocket knife that was several inches long. Hawkeye just moved slightly, and the wicked party who had not had time to escape in front of him fell to the ground with a plop. After a long time, a very narrow scar appeared on his neck, which was not even as fast as Hawkeye's knife. Watching this scene, Stussy's beautiful eyes widened a little. Even she couldn't see clearly how Hawkeye made the knife just now. But in fact, at the moment the eagle eye shot the knife, the entire dark exchange flashed a glimmer of coldness. The wicked party on the court who was forming gangs with each other and showing false smiles on their faces also suddenly swept a touch of extreme coldness in their hearts. What's going on? The wicked parties couldn't help feeling a little panicked, and looked at each other suspiciously. Hey, did you hear someone's name just now? You heard it too, is it Mihawk Hawkeye? Advertisement. As that man here too. As these wicked parties were in panic exchanges, a clear and crisp footsteps slowly approached from the corner. Who? The wicked party hurriedly looked in the direction of the footsteps. It's really Hawkeye Mihawk. He is actually here. Now dark fruit is hard to grab. It's hard to grab, you have to grab it, that's one of Logia's strongest dark fruit. Seeing the eagle eye appeared, many people were subconsciously panicked. After all, although their strength is not weak, compared to the world's largest swordsman whose fame spreads across the sea, the gap is predictable. However, there are also some people who are unwilling to let go of dark fruit even when facing Hawkeye. Someone yelled, even if it is the world's largest swordsman, Hawkeye. So many of us, are we still afraid of him? Everyone is a person with a name in the new world, and was scared by Hawkeye alone and fled. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at by the world? Under the encouragement of some people with ulterior motives. Those who were initially frightened by the name of Hawkeye, once again appeared crazy and fierce in their eyes. No matter how strong Hawkeye is, it can't be an opponent to so many of us. Everyone, let's go together, first get rid of the eagle eye, and then decide the ownership of dark fruit. Okay, just do it, facing the extremely powerful Hawkeye that suddenly appeared. Dozens of wicked parties who were pregnant with ghosts and killed each other suddenly stood together. They want to deal with Hawkeye together. Hawkeye, if you are acquainted, you can leave here as soon as possible. Dark fruit, you don't have your share. The alliance has greatly increased the confidence of dozens of evil parties, and the hunter shouted with a smile. Hawkeye stopped about 10 meters away from the evil party. He looked as cold as a blade, looked at the dozens of wicked parties who had consistently targeted him, and sneered slightly. Alliance. Interesting. But there is no sign of retreating. If that's the case, don't blame us for bullying the less, you're welcome. No longer hesitating, dozens of wicked parties took action at the same time, one after another they resorted to their own skills, besieged the eagle eye from all directions. Hawkeye stood motionless on the spot, still holding the pocket knife in his hand, and didn't even use the black knife behind him at all. Damn it, look down upon us so much. Eagle eye, let you taste the price of underestimating us. The moves in his hands have become a bit fiercer, and the momentum of dozens of wicked parties' simultaneous attacks looks extremely vast. When the attack of the evil parties was about to hit the eagle eye finally moved. But few people can see the speed of Hawkeye's movement. He is like a sword that is invincible and uncut, moving straight forward. Boom boom boom. When his figure stopped, dozens of evil parties who had just been called weapons all fell. The ignorant weak, even if they are connected together, are not worth my black knife. Hawkeye retracted the pocket knife, and didn't even look at the evil party behind him who knew nothing about life or death. But, Hawkeye looked in the direction of Stussy, and said faintly. If you want devil fruit too, if you don't come and get it, there will be no chance. Obviously, Hawkeye had also spotted Stussy long ago. Stussy smiled and walked out of the corner. Even though she saw Hawkeye's powerful swordsmanship again, her heart was not as nervous as before. Because, the man she was thinking of, just now, finally arrived on this island. Chuck, Stussy smiled, covering her blushing lips, and said with a smile. Dark fruit, we must get it. But Hawkeye, would a lone ranger like you also be interested in dark fruit? Humph. Hawkeye was surprised that Stussy was not afraid of him, and glanced at dark fruit, which was not a few steps away from him, and snorted coldly. I am not half interested in such things. However, it is a source of evil, and staying in the world will only bring more evil. Such things are the best to ruin. It turns out that the purpose of Hawkeye is to destroy dark fruit. But this is the case, it is reasonable. Advertisement. Because, with eagle eyes only respecting the personality of Kendo, you don't care about dark fruit. Now that I saw it, I just destroyed one of its swords. However, devil fruit is destroyed, just like the death of a capable person, it will regenerate somewhere after a while. According to the original book, the next time this dark fruit appears, it will be in the territory of Whitebeard. Buddha howls ha ha ha. As soon as Hawkeye's voice fell, an inexplicable low laughter suddenly floated from the sky above the dark exchange. Destroy dark fruit. Hawkeye, this really fits your character. The laughter was still far away at first, but the next second was almost in my ears. With the keen perception of the world's #1 swordsman, Hawkeye was instantly alert, and his sharp eyes shot towards the hull above the Dark Exchange. The Dark Exchange hull, which has rare materials, strong structure, and can even withstand the shelling of marine warships, suddenly seemed to be carrying a majestic mountain on its back, and it made the overwhelmed sound of squeaky. Under the eagle eye's sharp eyes, the dark exchange hall immediately shattered. The sun's rays rushed in an instant. The golden sunlight shines on the stalwart figure suspended in the air, making it look like a god of heaven and inviolability. Ha ha. Like the figure of a god, he smiled low and said. But, I can't let you do that. Unprecedented changes in the world, the surging waves of the times, are right in front of my eyes, how can I let it be destroyed by you, Hawkeye? The inexplicable words with deep meaning, the invisibly radiating aura of the world. Even Hawkeye can't help but shake the whole body. As for Stussy on the other side, seeing the man's stalwart figure and hearing the man's domineering words swallowing the world, in the beautiful eyes, the flashing splendor continued. You are really getting more and more infatuated, Master Joker. The visitor, who is not Dover from Wanokuni. Doflamingo, it turned out to be you. As the world's top swordsman, Hawkeye is extremely determined. He quickly calmed down his inner shock, and his yellow pupils mimicked like eagles. You are that woman, the reason you are no longer afraid of me suddenly, right? Stussy smiled sweetly at this moment. Oh, you discovered the tension just now. It's terrible, but if you just say it like this, it will make you faceless in front of the boss. Stussy twisted his waist and came to Dover's side. Master Joker, don't you blame me. Dover embraced Stussy's slender waist and smiled slightly at the coquettish performance of the exquisite woman. Taking Stussy to the ground, Dover bent his fingers and took the dark fruit not far from Hawkeye in his hand. Hawkeye's pupils shrank suddenly. Of the king's money. He actually didn't want dark fruit to be given to Dover. But just now, he didn't have time to stop him. Is it careless? No, it's the strength of this man, stronger than before. Hawkeye thinks that even in Shichibukai, there are only a handful, or even none, that can beat him. In his impression, although Doflamingo is deep-minded and powerful, it is not unmanageable. But at this moment, the feeling he was given to him was strange and unfathomable. The only thing Hawkeye can be sure of is Dover's strength, which is definitely different from the past. This is his instinct for the strong and instinct as a swordsman. Dover played with the dark fruit in his hand a few times, then put it away, looked at Hawkeye and chuckled. Mahawk, since the first Shichibukai meeting, we haven't seen it again. We won't meet again after a long time, so the atmosphere shouldn't be so tense. Hawkeye took a deep breath and suppressed the throbbing in his heart because of the man facing him, whose strength was beyond his expectation. As a swordsman, he must remain absolutely calm at all times. Hawkeye didn't say anything, he actually took off the black knife on his back. A wave of fierceness rose to the sky, tearing the clouds in the sky in an instant. Doflamingo, I can feel that your strength has become very strong. I have also heard the rumors about you in the dark world in recent years. But no matter what your purpose is, if you want to obtain dark fruit, you have to ask me this black knife in your hand. Black knife known as the strongest knife in the world. Holding in the hands of the world's strongest swordsman, before he was out of the sheath, bursts of sharpness were in the air. Xiaofo, are you going to fight? It just so happened that I also got a good knife recently, let's use it to try the power of the legendary Knight of Black Sword. Dover actually took out a knife, it was the pavilion demon Xiaozi gave him. GU. Chapter 109 The Duel of Two Black Knives, Hawkeye's Shock. Advertisement. Doflamingo, use a knife too. Seeing Dover unexpectedly, he also took out a knife, and the eagle's eyes couldn't help humming slightly. He has never heard that the opponent is a swordsman. According to Hawkeye's intelligence, Doflamingo should be a string fruit-capable person, and basically has never used swordsmanship. Is it because my strength has increased, so I'm underestimated? The sneer in Hawkeye's heart expanded even more. Even Dover didn't pay as much attention to Dover as before. Because a person who is so arrogant and ignorant can always only be a loser. Especially, if you dare to show his eagle eyes, the end is not just a failure. Behind him, those dozens of evil parties who don't know their life or death are living examples. Master Joker, even Stussy, there was a glimmer of stunner in her beautiful eyes. She had no idea that Master Joker would choose to use a sword against Hawkeye. The opponent is the world's largest swordsman, Hawkeye Mahawk. Lord Joker, did you choose the wrong tactic? But Stussy didn't rush to remind Dover. She was dexterous and guessed Master Joker should just use a sword to test the strength of Hawkeye. After a while, you should be serious, right? Beside. Dover took care of himself and pulled Yanmo out of the scabbard. As soon as Yanmo's dark blade appeared, the whole sky seemed to be dark. And the eagle eye, who had been staring at Dover's movements, suddenly shook his body, and the sharp pupils of an eagle expanded by a few points in an instant. 683. This is. Hawkeye's eyes were staring at him, and the one drawn by Dover looked like a magic knife from hell. Through the unique shape and style of the knife, the eagle eyes immediately recognized that the knife in Dover's hand is the famous sword of the big sharp knife 21 workers. But the single room demon was not enough to make Hawkeye too shocked. It is really difficult for Hawkeye to remain calm anymore, it is that Yanmo turned into a black knife. As the world's #1 swordsman, Hawkeye knows this world, and there are only a handful of famous swords that can be turned into black swords. Among them, there is no Yanmo. Then, there is only one reason why the demon turned into a black sword. That is, the new owner of Yanmo in front of him, Doflamingo. Call. Hawkeye slowly evacuated the shock from his heart. Only then did he think that Dover would use the sword to deal with him as arrogant thoughts, but there was no more. An existence that can turn a famous swordsman into a black sword, even if he is not a full-time swordsman, his swordsmanship must not be underestimated. Hawkeye was holding a black sword in the night, and the extremely long blade with a chaotic blade and heavy T-shaped, which was unique in the world, left a slender crack on the surface as soon as it touched the ground. Hawkeye said in a deep voice. Advertisement. Black sword Yanmo, it's really unexpected to see this knife. But since it has become a black sword, then the ranking should also be changed. The black sword, Yanmo, will no longer belong to the ranks of the 21st knife, but will become the 13th supreme knife. This is the recognition from the world's strongest swordsman. From then on, the supreme sharp knife, which is rarer than devil fruit, will be added with one more, and it will become the 13th supreme sharp knife. Stussy's delicate body trembled slightly, and the well-informed woman naturally knew the meaning of the black knife. Especially from Yinyan's evaluation of Yanmo, Stussy couldn't help but admire it. She looked at the stalwart figure of the man in front of her with beautiful eyes shining infinitely. What if this man is not a swordsman? What if you are facing the world's largest swordsman? But Master Joker. Stussy even couldn't help thinking, there is probably nothing in this world that Master Joker can't do. The 13th supreme sharp knife. Dover heard Hawkeye's evaluation and said with a faint smile. If it can't beat your black sword knight, it will be nothing more than a scrap of copper and iron, and the ranking has no meaning at all. The extremely plain words contain a domineering spirit. Yanmo seemed to understand the master's words, and trembling suddenly, the black color of the sword body became deeper and silent, and even a wisp of black mist entangled it. Buzzing. At the same time, on the opposite side, the black sword knight in Eagle Eye's hand also shook his face, and let out a sword sound that was not to be outdone. The black knife is alive. The next collision was not only a confrontation between the two masters, but also a confrontation between two rare black knives in the world. Between the black knives, there must be a higher one. Feeling the heart conveyed by the knight in the hand, even if it is the always calm and indifferent Eagle Eye, the heart can't help but a touch of warfare at this time. Hawkeye has been in the position of the world's strongest swordsman, and has stood for too long. In fact, he has always longed for someone to beat himself in kendo. So, Hawkeye never refuses anyone's challenge, but in the past few decades, there has not been a challenger who can make Hawkeye 1/10 the strength. Hawkeye often went to fight the Four Emperors' red hair, but the red hair broke his arm in East Blue. Hawkeye had no intention of fighting against the man with a broken arm. Therefore, such a surging fighting spirit that rises from the depths of his heart, Hawkeye has not felt it for many years. Then, come on. Although Hawkeye's fighting spirit was raging, his tone was still calm. Let me see, my black sword knight, and your black sword Yanmo, who is more powerful? Next moment, Hawkeye's moved. Advertisement. He deceived him, jumped to a high place, and the black knife in his hand suddenly waved at Dover. A huge emerald green wave of swords suddenly appeared and reached Dover in the blink of an eye. So strong. Stussy was amazed. He deserves to be the world's strongest swordsman. With a random wave, he can create such a powerful force. But in Stussy's heart, there was no panic. She turned her beautiful eyes and looked at the back of the man in front of her. Do you still need to worry if you have this man? I saw Dover stand up Yanmo and face the oncoming green sword wave. The dark fog around Yanmo suddenly increased, and it slammed the huge sword wave sent by the Eagle Eye in an instant, enveloping it. The emerald sword wave never came out again, as if it had been swallowed by the black mist. This, quote, Hawkeye couldn't help being extremely surprised. He had never seen such a weird swordsmanship. But before he could think too much, Dover's voice came from the opposite side. It's my turn. I saw that Dover also gently waved the middle demon and absorbed his powerful Haki Yan demon. Where the pitch black sword light passed, it seemed that even the space was torn apart, leaving an equally pitch black crack. Not good. Hawkeye was shocked. Yanmo's attack methods were too weird and beyond common sense, even Hawkeye was a little caught off guard. But the Eagle Eye is indeed an Eagle Eye, even though the heart is unexpected, the movement of the hand has not slowed down by half a minute. He once again swung the black sword knight, cutting out a wave of swords. However, encountering the weird dark sword light, it seemed to have been swallowed in, and failed to stop the dark sword light's offensive. Hawkeye's expression finally changed, but he also noticed that the pitch black sword light was partially offset by his own sword wave. Hawkeye waved several sword waves one after another, and finally wiped out the dark sword light completely. Boom! The Eagle Eye fell to the ground from midair. The confrontation between talents, although only a short moment, made Hawkeye feel more dangerous than ever. Even in the face of the red hair of the Four Emperors, he has never felt this way. That man is beyond his imagination. That black knife was weird beyond his expectations. Hawkeye's pair of light yellow sharp and circling pupils dignified the man standing on the opposite side, and said slowly and solemnly. Yanmo, who claims to be able to conquer hell, fell into your hands. It really looks more and more like a devil's blade, Doflamingo. Chapter 110 The Battle of the World's Strongest Swordsman, The Suppressed Hawkeye. Advertisement. Black Sword Yanmo. The whole body was wrapped in black mist, and the blade was shining with the cold luster of Leng Yui, as if it came from hell. Not long ago, Dover had cut out a bright galaxy hanging across the night sky on the roof of Wanokuni. At that time, the sword light emitted by Yanmo was dazzling silver. But at this moment, under Dover's deeper and thicker Haki's immersion, it seems that the demon can really lead to the netherworld, and the aura it exudes has become more and more dark and dark. Hawkeye called it more and more like a devil's blade, but it was extraordinarily appropriate. Devil's Blade, a good name. Dover smiled lightly and looked at Hawkeye. However, you didn't use your real strength either. Just forget about the trick to tease children just now. Although Hawkeye's slash just now was quite powerful, it was absolutely difficult for ordinary people to resist. But for Dover, it's just a child's trick. And Dover knew that the slash that Hawkeye had just swung was a far cry from the sword wave that he swung towards Whitebeard in the top war. I wanted to test it a little bit, but now it seems that it is unnecessary. Hawkeye gathered his thoughts. The black coat he wore, without wind, revealed a strong and muscular upper body. Hawkeye held the black sword in his right hand, and the sword was slightly slanted. Buzz. The sword intent soared into the sky, and an aura that was dozens or hundreds of times stronger than before, suddenly started from Hawkeye. The earth under his feet was actually cut into scars by the fierce sword intent rippling in the air. At this moment, Hawkeye is like a whole person, transformed into a peerless sword. Nothing but nothing. Unstoppable. With its terrifying pupils that are like goshawks, I am afraid that no matter how strong it is, the eagle eyes at this moment will feel chills. Buddha ha ha ha. Seeing Hawkeye finally showed the strongest posture, Dover laughed lowly, his eyes flashing with a darker color than Yanmo. This is like a little talk. Hawkeye, let me see, your world's strongest kendo. How strong is Hawkeye? In fact, Dover is also very curious about this question. Hawkeye is the only person in Shichibukai who has no influence or subordinates. With his own powerful strength alone, Marine was jealous, and he was busy inviting him to join 7 Warlords of the Sea. Hawkeye has played against 4 Emperors Red Hair several times, but the outcome is unknown. In the war at the top, as soon as he appeared, he attracted the attention of Akainu, Kizaru and other admiral. There is no doubt that the strength of Hawkeye is unfathomable. Even 4 Emperors Admiral dare not wait to take it lightly. Confronting such a strong man, even Dover, it has been long lost, showing a hint of eagerness to try. Huh, good. Hearing Dover's words, the eagle-eyed pupils flashed with sharp lights, and the corners of his mouth also evoked. I wanted to use this trick to test the world's strongest Whitebeard. Today, it is going to be used on you in advance. You have to be careful, Doflamingo. The next moment, Hawkeye raised it high with one hand, the black sword knife that was several meters long. The special blade of the chaotic, heavy-flowered T-shaped, pointed at the sky, as if it was about to poke a hole in the sky. Immediately afterwards, He Dao Yi drew an arc at an incredible speed, slashing down. Buzzing. Indescribable, compared to the monstrous slash that was completely incomparable in terms of size, speed, and power, he brazenly rushed out. Under the incomparable slash, everything that stood in front of him was wiped out in an instant. The earth left a deep and bottomless ditch. And the green sword light is even more dazzling, even the sun's sunlight is covered at this time. In the whole world, it seems that there is only the slash from the eagle eye, the huge slash that is overwhelmed with thorns and thorns. It is exactly the same as the war on the top of the original book and the slash to the 4 Emperors Whitebeard. Such a slash is really scary. The green sword glow was also printed in Stussie's beautiful eyes. Her petite and exquisite body turned around in place, and Sokker's little mouth smiled at Dover. Master Joker, you have to be careful. People have to hide far away. Immediately, Stussie's beautiful little feet in white socks were light as a weightless body, and then retreated to the distance. Advertisement. Stussie knew very well that she was not able to intervene in the next battle. Buddha Shao, good come. Dover jumped and stood in the air. Holding a black sword, Yan Mo, with the strong haki surging on his body and spleen the world, was absorbed by Yan Mo. Surrounded by the black mist that seemed to come from the nether hell, Dover looked like a demon god. Zzz. Because Yan Mo had absorbed too much haki, he also seemed to feel the approach of the black sword attack on the opposite side. Not long after being promoted to Black Blade, did you want to challenge that position of supremacy? Dover looked at Yan Mo's abnormal state and smiled slightly. However, this is a little bit qualified to be my saber. Next moment, Dover waved Yan Mo. The black mist that filled the surroundings was suddenly absorbed by Yan Mo. And with Dover's sword swing, from the tip of the pavilion demon's sword, a vast and incomparable pitch black sword glow rushed out. The pitch black sword glow is like a huge black curtain, covering the sky and covering the sky. The moment it appeared, the world dimmed. Whether it was the light of the sun or the dazzling green slash of the eagle eye, it seemed to be eclipsed at this moment. And when the black curtain collided with the slash of the eagle eye, surprisingly, there was no sound at all. I can only see that the green sword wave of the eagle eye, silently disintegrating, and even the stalemate has not been able to stand for a moment, and it is annihilated in the darkness of the sky. This, Hawkeye didn't expect it at all. He has already exerted a considerable part of his slash, and the result will be like this. Soon, the black curtain swallowed all the slashes of the eagle eye, and under the curtain, the vegetation, soil and rock on the island were all melted away. What a Yan Mo! What a Doflamingo! Hawkeye took a deep breath, and had to retreat. While retreating, Hawkeye continued to slap huge slashes like just now. It took more than 10 full swings before finally offsetting the overwhelming black curtain. The sun's rays finally set down at this time. When I saw the small island under my feet, it looked like an eagle eye at this moment, and I couldn't help but take a breath. Original. Most of the small island that was covered by the black curtain just disappeared out of thin air. Not even a trace of broken pieces was left. It's like being erased by some kind of mighty force. Only the remaining half is in jeopardy. What kind of kendo is this? Swallow it. Annihilate it. Or is it pure darkness? Even Eagle Eye, as the world's largest swordsman, can't understand Dover's kendo. No matter what kind of kendo, my kendo is never forward, the sword is supreme. Although unable to understand the opponent's kendo, Hawkeye's eyes were still extremely firm. He is the world's strongest swordsman and possesses the world's strongest black sword. In the sword-to-sword competition, he will never lose. I saw Hawkeye slam on the ground, his thin iron body, like a sharp sword out of its sheath, rushing towards Dover's location very quickly. Hawkeye is not a fool. On the contrary, he is always calm and composed no matter what scene he encounters. He is both wise and insightful and extremely keen. 2 consecutive long-range slashes were consumed by the opponent's strange pitch-black sword light, so Hawkeye would naturally no longer choose long-range attack tactics. He wants to fight in close combat and compete with the opponent in the direct collision of swords and swords. Dover looked at Wei Mi and saw the purpose of Hawkeye. To be honest, only on the skills of swordsmanship, Dover is indeed inferior to Hawkeye, who has been honed in swordsmanship for decades. However, Dover also did what Dover did. When the Eagle Eye attacked, Dover just gently stabbed the pavilion demon, and spotted it somewhere on the night of the Black Blade. For flowers. Advertisement. Hawkeye was shocked. Here is where his weakness lies in this sword attack. Of course, the so-called weaknesses are only relative to the real strong. For ordinary people, the weaknesses of the Eagle Eye sword are also fatal. But being discovered by a strong man of Dover's level is not good. Sure enough, the black sword knight that Hawkeye had originally intended to win, deviated from the original trajectory, and flew out to the side together with his body. Dover's mouth twitched at this moment, and once again cut out a dark sword light. Not good. Hawkeye forcibly reversed the forward inertia of his body, blocking He Dao Yi in front of him. Boom. Hawkeye only felt a strong force, coming from the sword, his body flew out involuntarily. Flew straight out for hundreds of meters before stopping. Hawkeye could not help but breathe heavily, which is extremely rare in his career as a great swordsman. But facing that man, he was a little tired before he had a few tricks. After all, Hawkeye has spent a lot of effort in order to kill the huge black curtain just now. It's observation Hawkeye, Hawkeye said in a deep voice against the man standing in the air. As a swordsman, Hawkeye is also good at seeing and hearing Hawkeye. But just now, his observation Hawkeye failed, and the opponent could see the weakness of his sword skills at a glance. Obviously, the other party's observation Hawkeye is better than yourself. Dover smiled faintly. Hawkeye was right. He did use Hawkeye's sights and smells to attack the weaknesses with simple and complicated, simple and straightforward, to break Hawkeye's superb swordsmanship. Seeing that Dover didn't deny it, Hawkeye couldn't help but feel a little complicated. In the past, he used such a simple and neat way to deal with those who challenged him. Unexpectedly, one day, someone would use the same method to deal with himself, but he has no way. The so-called Dao De Jian is the same for Kendo. When a person's level has reached a certain level, no amount of fancy skills will be superfluous. The force broke the 10,000 magic, the 4 or 2 strokes 1,000 caddies. This is the return to the basics of Kendo. It is the suppression of absolute strength. Faced with such a situation, Hawkeye is also quite a headache. Long-range slash, the opponent's weird pitch-black sword light makes his previous unfavorable slash without any effect at all. Compete with swordsmanship at close range, the opponent's vision is higher than your own, and it is difficult to use it if you have all kinds of exquisite swordsmanship. Do you want to go all out? Hawkeye couldn't help thinking in secret. He was on the throne of the strongest swordsman, and after so many years, naturally there were still some tricks that he did not use. But Hawkeye had an inexplicable feeling that even if he used all his strength and the strongest swordsmanship, he might not be able to defeat that man. The intuition of the swordsman is very accurate, especially the great swordsman like Eagle Eye, will not give birth to such an idea for no reason. Hawkeye stared deeply at Dover in the air, and the dark fruit on the ladder. After a long time, he sighed and inserted He Dao Yi back into the scabbard behind him. He Dao Yi's ding sound seemed to be an unwilling wailing. Hawkeye was silent, and finally, he said, I am defeated. Your swordsmanship is not as good as mine, but on the way of swordsmanship, you have reached Jane. If you can't compete with you in other ways, I will never be your opponent. The world's strongest swordsman, the strongest Kendo Eagle Eye, directly admitted his failure. If it spreads out, I am afraid it will cause an uproar in the whole world. Dover was also quite surprised, but immediately took a higher look at Hawkeye. Win without arrogance, defeat without being discouraged, and even dare to speak out about your failures. This is the true mentality of a strong man. After acknowledging his failure, Hawkeye suddenly said again. Dark fruit belongs to you. But, can you tell me? What did you mean by the unprecedented changes in the world and the surging waves of the times, at the beginning, Heavenly Yaksha, Joker? Chapter 111 The founder of the era, the throbbing Eagle Eye. Advertisement. Although Hawkeye likes to be alone, it is not without its own news channels. In recent years, the man codenamed Joker on the opposite side has become more and more famous in the dark world. There is even a faint momentum to surpass the 4 emperors. People in the dark world call it the omnipotent Joker, a man wearing a demon mask, a swordsman who secretly manipulates war. And Dover's reward in the black market has reached a sky-high price of 3 billion Baileys. Of course, Hawkeye has heard of these. But at first, Hawkeye didn't really care much. Because, he didn't believe much in the rumors of the dark world, and secondly he was extremely confident in his own strength, thinking that no matter what happened, he was enough to deal with it. However, at this moment, Hawkeye no longer had the original idea. Seeing that man again gave him a great shock. Even the swordsmanship he was proud of was suppressed by the opponent. How can Hawkeye be as calm as usual? 690. Although he is not very gaff, but his inner fear and vigilance towards Dover has reached the extreme. At the same time, I think of Dover's rumors in the dark world, and he has tried his best to take the dark fruit himself, plus the shocking words he said when he just showed up. Rao is an eagle eye, and there is also a feeling of extreme anxiety in his heart. Ha 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 howl. Dover smiled with an unexplained deep, unpredictable look in his eyes, and also looked at Hawkeye. Dover knew that under the seemingly indifferent appearance of Hawkeye, in fact, the development of the world's situation and the arrangement of the so-called destiny are very concerned by ordinary people. In the original work, he has expressed extraordinary concern for Straw Hat Crew more than once. In the Top War, he even went out in person to test whether Luffy, the son of a new generation of luck, is really blessed by fate. Hawkeye is neither on the pirates' side, nor on Marine's side. I am afraid that few people know what his position is. Dover smiled, but asked rhetorically, Hawkeye, do you think, who started this increasingly fierce era of great pirates? Hawkeye frowned. The era of the great pirate was opened by the previous generation of One Piece King, Gore D. Roger. Before he died, the words about the ultimate place where all his treasures, resources, and even all secrets were buried, One Piece, the world's largest secret treasure, caused a worldwide sensation. He brought countless powerful people with dreams or ambitions, and rushed to the sea one after another, which completely set off the wave of the era of big pirates. Why did the other party ask him this, well-known simple question? Hawkeye didn't doubt for too long, and Dover continued with a deep medical smile. Buddha it was the era started by the guy Gore D. Roger. The big secret treasure One Piece is indeed a big gimmick, and even the world government has a headache about it. Advertisement. But, Dover's dark eyes suddenly narrowed, and the inexplicable flickering in them made the eagle's eyes shudder. The big secret treasure One Piece is too illusory. The person designated by fate does not know how many years it will take to reach the ultimate island. Hawkeye, but can't wait. The wave of the times must be determined by others. It is like a sky thunder, exploding in the void. Hawkeye's whole body shook suddenly, and his pupils like eagles expanded violently, staring at the man on the opposite side. Hawkeye, who suddenly surged up in the opposite man, made him feel a sense of slumber. At this point, even the red-haired Shanks, who was known as the world's strongest conqueror's Hawkeye, can't reach it. Hawkeye instantly understood that Doflamingo hadn't used his true strength just now. How strong its strength is, Hawkeye is already incalculable. And what makes Hawkeye more shocking and even unbelievable is the meaning of Dover's words. At this time, Hawkeye finally understood that the wave of the times and world change that Dover said at the beginning were the era that was initiated and led by them. The man Doflamingo wants to be an epic-making creator like the dead Gold D. Roger. Be the leader of a new era. That is something that even the strongest man of the age, 4 Emperors Whitebeard, can't do it. Hawkeye has a more faint hunch that the new era opened by Doflamingo will be more violent and turbulent than the era of the big pirate opened by Roger. Hawkeye can't imagine what the world will become at that time. Also, what method does Doflamingo use to start such an era? It must make a move that shakes the world and shakes the world. Doflamingo, what exactly do you want to do? Hawkeye asked harshly. When it comes to such a serious problem that affects the whole world, he must figure it out. Ha ha ha, but Dover did not answer him again. With a sudden movement, Dover came to Stussy's side and put his arm around the latter's slender waist with one hand. Before leaving, there was only one sentence left that made Hawkeye horrified. The times are never stopped. When the trend of the times is boiling to its peak, all people in the world will enter the game. There is no so-called neutral. Hawkeye, you have to choose which side to stand on then, but you have to think carefully. Advertisement. Buddha howl ha 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 ha, like laughter wandering from an endless abyss, echoing over this broken dark exchange for a long time. Hawkeye stood there blankly. It took a long time before he came back to his senses and looked deeply at the terrifying man in the direction he was leaving. Doflamingo. Hawkeye knew that from now on, this name would become a name he couldn't ignore even when he was sleeping. The distance to the dark exchange, unexplained many miles above the sea. The clouds are receding quickly. Stussy's entire petite and exquisite body was hung on the man's body, and the white jade porcelain-like lotus arm was also hooked on the man's neck. In her beautiful eyes, there are infinite splendor, infinite worship, and infatuation deep into the bones. What Dover had just said to Hawkeye also deeply shocked Stussy. Stussy knew before that this man was domineering, and if he didn't say anything else, he had to change his banner, betray the world government and rely on him. I also know that men are audacious, dare to kidnap celestial dragons, dare to extend the clutches of the hands of celestial dragons. And just now, Stussy knew better that the man's mind was as broad as the sea and the sky is vast. A man's vision is above the times. The man's stalwart body is always on top of the world. Such a man is irresistible to a woman like Stussy. She is deeply admired, and deeply infatuated. Obviously so overbearing, forcing people to take refuge in you, but making people more and more willing with 4.6. People are really poisoned by you, and they will never escape from your palm. Stussy hummed and thought, opened the red and gorgeous Sakura peach mouth, and took a small bite on the man's strong, muscular chest. Did not leave any tooth marks, obviously reluctant to use force, but left 2 bright red lip marks. Gluck. Stussy looked at the lip prints that he might not be able to erase for a while, and smiled, looking overwhelmingly happy. Dover ignored the little woman's thoughts. He went all the way, and soon reached a sky island shrouded in clouds and mist. That area is. Stussy fell from Dover, looking at the huge island lying in the center of Sky Island, which should not belong to the air. Beautiful eyes are full of surprise. The punk hazard incident. You did it, Lord Joker. Kaido is actually the fruit of fish, the village through the net. Chapter 112 New Punk Hazard, Imitation Dark Fruit. Advertisement. In the center of this sky island, the depths shrouded in clouds. A lush, leafy, vibrant island, while it stands. Above, there are all kinds of strange and huge plants. The branches of plants are covered with some kind of fruits with strange shapes and spiral patterns. And in the more central part of the island, there are several well-equipped research institutes, researching and developing something in full swing. There are almost no guards on the periphery of the institute. There are only a dozen tall, mighty, and Shichibukai robots that look like Shichibukai violent coon bears, guarding the entrance of the institute. Those robots are the pacifists who should have been equipped for marine use, and it took Vegapunk for many years to successfully develop them. And that island wasn't punk hazard that Dover took under Kizaru's gaze more than a year ago. What is it? The punk hazard incident has caused a great sensation all over the world. After all, under the supervision of a marine admiral, the government's extremely important secret research base has been dealt with in one go. It is not a blow to the prestige of the world government. Normally big. Stussy looked at the man beside her with beautiful eyes, her ruddy mouth slightly bent. First heard that Marine Marshal Sengoku was directly held accountable by 5 elders. And Marine's external publicity indicated that the punk hazard incident was done by 4 emperors Kaido. At first, people believed it too. I didn't expect it. Stussy gave the man a fair look. Unexpectedly, the real master behind the scenes is you, Lord Jock 11 When Stussy flipped through Byakugan mischievously, she couldn't help but sigh. The celestial dragons were manipulated with drugs, and world government and marine were given such a loud slap between raising their hands, but the other side did not know who the real enemy was. Calling the wind and calling the rain, ghosts and gods are unpredictable, and there is nothing more than this. At this time, the two walked to the land of punk hazard. Stussy was able to see more clearly, pointed in surprise at the peculiar fruit on the huge tree, and asked. Is this a man-made devil fruit? Smile. As a high-level spy of CP0, Stussy itself is a lot of secrets of the master government, man-made devil fruit. She has heard of this name many years ago. But it was the first time I saw it with my own eyes. Dover smiled slightly and said, not bad. The man-made devil fruit tree planted on Sky Island, there are no more than 1,000 trees, and there are thousands of smile fruits hanging on it. With so many devil fruits, even the well-informed Stussy couldn't close his little pink mouth of Sakura. It's amazing. Stussy couldn't help saying. With so many man-made devil fruits, how many capable people can be created? I am afraid that there are at least 1,000 people, and it feels terrifying to think about it. Advertisement. Speaking of building a man-made devil fruit army, that is something 4 emperors Kaido desires to be almost crazy. Kaido did not hesitate to give away all the seastone crafts of Wanokuni to Dover, with a large amount of money and resources. The hidden price paid is even more, such as making Dover's hand successfully reach Wanokuni, planting Shaozi, Kazuki Oden's old department and many other hidden hands. Even Kaido's daughter Yamato, it can be regarded as an upside-down post. After paying so much, what Kaido Ishin wants is the Devil Fruit Legion. And Dover did bring smiles to Kaido, and he also made Kaido succeed 10 more zone abilities. Kaido was overjoyed and didn't dare to offend Dover even more. I really don't know, when Kaido sets foot on this new punk hazard island and sees these thousands of smile fruits, how wonderful will the expression on his face be? Stussy didn't have time to marvel, and many of them were attracted by the pacifists who exuded awe-inspiring aura. Stussy knows that the pacifist is the secret weapon of the world government, and it is said to have the powerful power to kill hundreds of millions of big pirates in seconds. Unexpectedly, Stussy hadn't seen the slightest shadow of pacifists in Marine, but he saw so many here all at once. Master Joker, people really admire you more and more. When he saw more than a dozen pacifists and immediately fell on one knee when he spotted Dover, Stussy was even more surprised. Dover glanced at the pacifist before him, nodding slightly in his heart. These pacifists have been transformed into absolutely loyal to Dover. Although their power is not worth mentioning in front of Dover, it is more than enough to guard this Sky Island. Originally, there were only 7 or 8 pacifists captured by Dover from Punk Hazard, not so many. The extra is actually Vinsmoke Judge, copied from the original pacifist. Copying such technology is what Judge is best at. As the pacifists bowed to Dover, Gaiza led a group of members of the institute and ran over in panic. Master Joker, you are back. Kaido trot forward with a flattering smile. Master, young master. Behind Guy saw, a little pink figure suddenly appeared, and the smoke hung on Dover's neck. Those pink little hands, 5 cardamom fingers with purple grapes, a cute little face, and when they met, they were like a sticky sugar hanging on Dover's body, not sugar. Which one? Young master, young master. But what came out immediately after the sugar was a smaller figure, but it was the Princess Mancherry of the little human race. Man Shirley looked at the tall and kind man in front of her timidly, as if she wanted to approach but didn't dare to approach. Little human race. Stussy looked at Man Shirley with a curious look. She was just listening to Master Joker saying that the reason why the artificial devil fruit tree can grow so luxuriantly is inseparable from the cultivation of the little human race. When Stussy saw Man Shirley's expression, she was obviously shy and timid, and she saw the cute little angel-like sugar hanging on Dover's neck, and her beautiful eyes couldn't help flashing a narrow and funny meaning. Advertisement. It's really a big and small beauty, and they can't match the charm of Lord Joker. Isn't that the same for myself? At this time, suddenly the small nose sniffed the sugar buried in Dover's arms, and then a pair of big eyes looked dangerously at Stussy beside Dover. Stussy was just now, leaning in Dover's arms in almost the same posture as Sugar. The small sensitive nose of Sugar can smell the scent of Vixen. Damn it, another shameless Vixen. Sugar looked bitterly. Last time, after coming from North Blue Germa Kingdom, Sugar had secretly asked Robin about the Princess Germa who was going to marry the young master. When it was learned that although Germa was subdued by the young master, but the woman who heard that Robin's sister said that she was also beautiful, but stayed in North Blue steadily, the Sugar was annoyed for a long time, and she was stunned. Also regarded Reiju as a Fox 690 spirit. And now, Stussy in front of her is naturally a big Vixen. Stussy noticed that Sugar was full of hostile gazes. She was deeply attentive. She quickly understood the gaze of Sugar, and she couldn't help but feel funny in her heart. A little girl is actually eating the vinegar of her dignified queen of the pleasure district. With a playful thought, Stussy shot back Sugar with a look, as if to say, "This man, I decided, what about you?" Sugar instantly flushed with anger, like a red apple. Stussy laughed like Huang Peng, and Lingdong's bumpy body trembled lightly. Dover ignored the tricks of the two women. He directly took out a devil fruit, threw it to Guy Saw, and faintly commanded. According to this, imitate one. Guy Saw hurriedly caught the fruit, and when he saw that the devil fruit in his hand was the legendary dark fruit, he couldn't help taking a breath, and even a trace of greed appeared in his heart. According to the legend, dark fruit, one of Logia's strongest, possesses all kinds of incredible powers. But in the next second, I noticed Master Joker, who was looking at him with an indifferent gaze. Guy gave a cold face, and the greed in his heart disappeared without a trace. Guy Saw put on a more humble and flattering smile, patted his chest and promised. Master Joker, please rest assured, with the original, the small one can be copied in a short time. Dover nodded slightly. He saw the greed in Guy's heart, but he didn't care. Because, with Guy's greedy personality and fear of death, he has no courage to demand any small tricks from him. Chapter 113 Ace's News, Red Hair and Beckman's Shock. Advertisement. New World. Somewhere is a prosperous island. Here, rich in products, abundant resources, and sunny, it is a rare and excellent place in New World. However, the surrounding sea is extremely calm. There is no place like other fertile places, which are usually contested by New World big pirates, without a quarter of an hour of peace. There are no pirates who dare to approach this small island within 100 miles of the sea. Of course, there are also some ambitious people who don't know the heights of the sky and want to be famous all over the world, deliberately break into this place. But their fate, without exception, was quite miserable. Because, this is where the youngest 4 emperors in New World, the crew of One Piece Roger, and the red-haired Shanks are located. Ha 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 ha, come on, drink and drink. Dried this bowl. At this moment, a lively banquet is going on the island. The members of Red Hair Pirates were talking loudly while drinking and eating meat. Recently, it's getting more and more boring, and there are not a few guys who come to provoke me. Ming Wu ha ha ha. Of course, our boss's reputation is getting louder and louder in the world. New World, how can there be pirates who don't open their eyes, dare to challenge the red-haired boss? The prestige of 4 emperors with red hair has become more and more popular in today's New World, and people have completely regarded it as an existence alongside the other 3 emperors. Yes, but after 2 years, the situation may be different. Oh why, have you not found that the recent world is more chaotic than before? In the era of the great pirates, it is getting more and more intense. I have seen from the news in the newspapers that there are many newcomers in the 4 seas who have emerged. In a few years, they will enter the New World. At that time, the New World would be much more interesting. Newcomer. Interesting and interesting. I heard that the Whitebeard Pirates, the captain of the 2nd Division who took up the post recently, is the newcomer, right? Well, there is indeed this rumor. It seems to be a guy named Ace. I joined the Whitebeard Pirates soon after entering New World, and became the captain of the 2nd team. What a great newcomer. In the center of the banquet, gathered together are the core members of Red Hair Pirates. Among them, there are the Captain Red-Haired Shanks, the Deputy Captain, Ben Beckman, who can almost match the red hair, the world's #1 sniper Usopp, the Cadre Lackey Lu, etc., who are famous throughout the world. When someone around me mentioned the name of Ace, the red hair who was drinking flashed his eyes. Since Ace was invited by Marine to join Shichibukai for the first time, redheads have been paying attention to him. When Ace entered the New World, the red hair even wanted to let him join his pirate group. However, when he heard the news that Ace had joined Whitebeard and was entrusted by Whitebeard, red hair immediately extinguished his original thoughts. He drank a big bowl of wine again, wiped the spout from the side of his mouth, and the corner of his mouth bends. Advertisement. With the protection of the old man Whitebeard who cherishes you, you will feel very at ease in the sky, Captain Roger. Ace is Roger's son. This secret redhead and Whitebeard, naturally have long known. The red hair was thinking about Ace, but Ben Beckman on the side was thinking about the situation of the world. Since the punk hazard event that shook the world more than a year ago, Celestial Dragons has suddenly increased its gold by 3 times, and the whole world has plunged into unprecedented chaos. Despite the chaos, he was finally forced down by Marine Marshal Sengoku. But the hatred hidden in people's hearts will only get deeper and deeper. Sooner or later, there will be a big mess in the world. And the undercurrent surging in the darkness is even more turbulent in the silent place. Ling Ben Beckman often has a premonition of extreme anxiety. Most people attribute the chaos of the world to the intensification of the era of the great pirates. However, Ben Beckman and Red Hair, as early as the punk hazard incident, suspected. Behind the chaos of the world, there is a pair of invisible big hands pushing. Captain. Beckman spoke suddenly. Recently, some news came from Kaido. The Red Hair immediately gave a solemn expression, put Ace aside, and looked at Beckman. Beckman spit out a smoke ring and slowly said, at the beginning of the punk hazard incident, the government announced that the chief envoy was the Four Emperors Kaido. Although we suspected that there was another chief envoy behind the scenes, we could not find any clues and could only focus on Kaido. The redhead nodded. Who is the chief behind punk hazard? Does it have anything to do with the increasingly chaotic world? This problem is the thorn that has been pressed in the hearts of Redhead and Beckman throughout the year. Anyway, the Kaido who sent Jack the Drow to block Kizaru must have contact with the master behind the scenes. A wise light flashed in Beckman's eyes. After the man I sent to stare at Wanokuni, there was finally news recently. Someone went to Wanokuni, and Kaido showed a rare ecstasy. The back of the red hair straightened suddenly, and the sound was like a stone, straightforward. Who is it? Joker in the middle of darkness. 7 Warlords of the Sea, Heavenly Yaksha Doflamingo. It turned out to be him. Hearing Beckman's answer, the red-haired Shanks frowned. Advertisement. Regarding Joker, the middle man in the dark, the redhead has naturally heard of the more and more famous name in the dark world. If the person goes to Wanokuni, it must be some kind of shady business with Kaido. However, to say that Joker is the master behind the scenes and the driving force behind the chaos of the world, the red-haired does not believe it. Because, although the dark middleman Joker is rumored to be good, he is only a Shichibukai after all, and shouldn't have that much energy, right? Beckman seems to know the redhead thought. In fact, he has the same suspicion. A Shichibukai really has the ability to make 4 emperors Kaido and willing to be used by it. Each of them frowned and said nothing. After a while, Red Hair suddenly realized the noise of the surrounding banquet, and stopped, picked up the wine bowl and stood up, laughing. Quote. What's the matter, little ones, continue to have fun. However, the red-haired one responded with a somewhat daring voice. Boss red-haired, there is a small boat from outside the island. A ship. The red hair can't help but feel a little curious, which arrogant guy dare to come to his territory with only a boat. But the next moment, the red hair was relieved. Because that arrogant guy has already been on the island. His body is straight, dressed in black, standing like a sword. After going to the island, he walked straight towards the red hair Wang Nuos. The members of Red Hair Pirates, even automatically, stepped back, giving way to a path. Ha ha ha. The red hair looked at the incoming person and laughed. Hawkeye, your aura is as strong as ever. Why, are you here to fight with me? The man in black is the world's #1 swordsman. In the dark exchange, he fought with Dover each with a black knife, and admitted that he had failed Hawkeye Mahawk. Hawkeye glanced at the red-haired empty left arm, and said lightly. I'm not interested in fighting a man with a broken arm. The red hair smiled disapprovingly. That's the one who came for a drink. It just so happens that we are having a banquet. Unexpectedly, Hawkeye still shook his head and said. Redhead, I am here to talk to you about a certain man. In an extremely solemn tone that has never been seen before, Hawkeye slowly said a name that shocked the red hair and Beckman. That man is Joker, Doflamingo, the man in the middle of the dark. Chapter 114 Red History Text, Incredible Red Hair Pirates. Advertisement. Dressrosa. The lively streets are full of voices. Men desperately work and exercise, and they seem to be holding back their energy. Beautiful women, smiling shields like flowers, thinly dressed, during which there may be fast little human races, jumping around, bringing a gust of wind to the women's skirts, causing waves of screams. Dressrosa, still the country of passion and fairies. And when the young man wearing the silver medal came by, the men's eyes couldn't hide the extreme envy. Fashionable, beautiful and generous women, regardless of age difference, frequently cast their eyebrows at them. That guy Pat, used to be just a poor boy. Ever since I followed Master Senor, he has completely turned over. Who said no? Now I see him, I have to call it a sir. These are His Majesty the King, the supreme kindness. If it weren't for the policy promulgated by the king, how could there be room for a commoner poor boy to stand up? That's it. Only if you can show enough talents, everyone can become a master like Pater. Long live your majesty. The young man walking in the middle of the street wearing a silver medal was the one Viola had met Pat. More than 693 years ago, Pate tried every means to become a member of the family, but because of his young age, many family cadres did not give him a chance to express himself. Pater then went to Senor Peak, who doesn't judge people by age. Although Senor is wearing baby clothes and holding a pacifier that children can only hold in his mouth, he is indeed eclectic. He quickly took a fancy to Pat's perseverance, and brought him to teach him personally. After more than a year of cultivation, Pete's current strength has soared, and it is far from what it used to be. His eyes have also become more determined and sharp, and the youthful greenness has faded between his eyebrows and eyes, and he has become a very capable and powerful warrior. Whether it was the envy of the men on the street or the glamorous eyes of the women at him, Pat's expression never changed. Only when he heard the king's name, his face showed a look of respect and admiration spontaneously. Pat clenched his fists, raised his head, and looked at the highest point of Dressrosa. The palace where the supreme king, who is in the eyes of all Dressrosa citizens, indistinguishable from the gods, is located, and secretly made up his mind. I must redouble my practice and swear allegiance to the king. And this time, the luxurious palace at the highest be beg. Dover happened to be leaning against the window, his eyes like stars, looking into the sky. In the dark pupils, no one knew what he was thinking. Da-da, behind him came the sound of light footsteps. Advertisement. Accompanied by a fragrant wind, it wraps around the nose. The beauty is wearing a lavender plaid gown with a wide-open neckline, revealing her fair, smooth, creamy skin. A white ribbon is randomly tied around the waist, which is slender and softer than wicker. Beautiful eyes are full of smiles, Chong nose is pretty standing, and red lips are charming. Lianbu moved lightly, exuding intellectual and elegant temperament all the time. Such a beautiful woman who is unique in the world and is all over the country is not Robin, but who is it? Robin lightly leaned into Dover's arms, raised his head, and looked at the handsome, angular face of the man, with boundless love in his heart. Robin heard the voice of, "Long live the king," coming from far below from the window, and he couldn't help showing a beautiful smile that eclipsed heaven and earth. Master Devil, you are really loved by the people. Dover once told Robin that he was a real demon. And Robin is the son of the devil known by the world. Robin always thinks of the weird relationship that it contains. It is funny every time he thinks of it, and he often calls Dover the Devil Lord. Dover wrapped his arms around the beauty's waist and said lightly, "Human greed is endless, but at the same time, it is also a species that is easily satisfied." Robin was startled. This man is always so insightful to human nature, not surprised at everything, no wonder he is so fascinated by him. Robin's beautiful eyes became brighter, like two shining black pearls, staring at the man close at hand without blinking. She really wanted to go on like this forever. Such a warm feeling made her extremely satisfied and happy. But Robin knew that men had bigger things to do. I have deciphered that piece of red historical text. When Dover returned from Zhao Island, he brought back a piece of red historical text, which was kept by the Kazuki family. The red historical text is a road sign text. Collecting 4 pieces can point to the final island, loved. Robin told Dover the content of the red history text. The stalwart man leaned against the window. The beautiful woman is leaning against the man's arms. The golden sunshine wine on the two bodies is really like a couple of gods and goddesses, poetic and picturesque. New World. The island of red hair pirates. Who are you talking about? Joker. Doflamingo. Advertisement. Redhead's eyes widened, staring at Hawkeye. He didn't expect that Hawkeye came to him for the man. Just now, Redhead and Beckman were also puzzled by the mysterious man. Good. Hawkeye nodded, and JD pulled out the black sword knight that was known as the strongest in the world behind him. As soon as the Black Sword Knight appeared, there was a burst of sharp blades, which made the members of Red Hair Pirates feel chills in their hearts. However, when the Red Hair saw He Dao Yi, she was suddenly shocked, as if she had seen something incredible. Your black knife, the supreme breath in that knife, is gone. Hawkeye's Black Blade Knight is the strongest in the world, with the same pride as its master, Hawkeye. Even if it is against the red-haired Western sword, the supreme aura of the sword has never been reduced by half. But now, that breath has disappeared. I lost. Hawkeye opened his mouth and said a word that shocked all the members of the pirate group including Redhair and Beckman. Not long ago, in a kendo competition, I lost to one person. Hiss. Obviously, I could hear countless sounds of inhalation. Hawkeye Mahawk, the world's largest swordsman, holding the world's strongest black sword, and even in the face of the red-haired Eagle Eye Mahawk, actually lost to someone else in the sword showdown. This is incredible. Ben Beckman took the lead in reacting, with an unprecedented dignified expression, and asked in a deep voice. Hawkeye, the man you lost to is Joker. Hawkeye nodded again. The voice that attracted everyone from Red Hair Pirates, sucking in cold breath, was endless again. The chicken legs on Lackey Rob's hands fell to the ground, and his open mouth couldn't close for a while. The core members of the red-haired group such as Usopp all have unbelievable expressions. They are quite aware of how powerful the Hawkeyes, who often compete with the red-haired captain, are. It can be said that the strength of Hawkeye is beyond Shichibukai's existence. But it was such an eagle eye, but lost to another Shichibukai. Moreover, it is still a defeat in kendo. Ben Beckman took a deep breath and said solemnly to the redhead. It seems that our previous suspicions can be explained. If that man really has such terrible strength, then there is no doubt that he is the man behind the scenes. Chapter 115 Terrible Joker, Beyond the Existence of Rocks. Advertisement. Hearing Beckman's words, the red hair's heart was shaken again. At first, when Beckman mentioned that Joker and Kaido had a connection, he suspected that the person was behind the Punk Hazard incident and the cause of the chaos in the world. However, the red hair and even Beckman himself are very uncertain about this suspicion. Because, whether it is to create a sensational event like Punk Hazard, or to promote the chaos of the world, it requires unimaginable tyrannical strength and huge power. Neither of them believes that a mere dark middleman and Shichibukai can do that. But now it seems that the most impossible thing, most likely, is the truth. Behind the scenes. What does that mean? Hawkeye's expression condensed, and he asked in a deep voice. Red Hair sighed, suppressed the shock in his heart, and told Hawkeye, "Chi and Beckman, the previous guess." Hawkeye listened, a pair of light yellow spiral pupils almost shrunk into pinholes. Since losing to Dufu in the kendo, he knew that Dover was a terrible man. But Hawkeye didn't expect that the punk hazard incident that humiliated the world government and Marines' head more than a year ago was actually done by that man. Moreover, the world's increasingly chaotic situation seems to have a relationship with that man. If everything is really as we expected, the purpose and ambition of that guy Doflamingo, I am afraid that it has reached a point that we can't imagine. The solemn and deep voice of Red Hair echoed on this island. The warm and joyous atmosphere of the banquet at the top of the island has long since disappeared without a trace. The atmosphere became depressing and dull. At the same time, everyone at Red Hair Pirates still had incredible in their hearts at this time. Is Shichibukai really that scary? So that the red-haired captain who made them respectful, plus the extremely clever deputy captain Beckman, are all heavy and jealous. Huh. Ben Beckman slowly exhaled a thick smoke ring, his wise eyes hidden in the smoke, as if leaping across endless time and space, and seeing a tall figure. It's really incredible. That Joker has been hiding his true strength before, right? His means and strength make me involuntarily think of the guy who dominated the era before Roger. Beckman said a name that shocked everyone present. That's Rox, the super king of the sea. Rox, this name, has almost become a taboo existence in today's era. Because, the meaning and great horror he represents, even the four emperors and the world government, must be shocked. Advertisement. In other words, in fact, the three of the four emperors today were once under the command of Rox. There is also a legendary pirate, Golden Lion Shiki, alongside the four emperors, who was once a subordinate of Rox. It can be said that with Rock's pirate strength in the past, if it hadn't fallen apart due to the Battle of the Valley of Gods, I am afraid that it would really be able to dominate the world now. Rox haha. Mr. Beckman, are you kidding? How can that Joker be comparable to Rox? Someone swallowed, his face was a little pale, and he said with a strong smile. However, his question was completely shattered under the nod of the red-haired captain. In terms of means alone, that man has even surpassed Rox. Compared with Beckman, the redhead who used to be an intern on Roger's ship knows more about Captain Roger's former enemy Rox. Rox is terrifying to the extreme. The ambition is also huge. But compared to the mysterious Joker who has only revealed a little bit of information until now, Rox is undoubtedly too swagger, and the intention to expose it is too obvious. As a result, Rox was finally defeated by Captain Roger and the Marine hero Garp. The members of Rock's pirate were not united either. After the captain died, they immediately batted each other and seized one side. Rock's pirate, which made it dominate for a while, disappeared in the long river of history in a blink of an eye. However, that mysterious Joker is different. He is as terrifying as Rox, but hidden in the dark, no one knows his true face. On the surface, that person was Shichibukai, and Marine and the government were afraid to do anything to him. Secretly, that person is the middle man of darkness, and had an unspeakable deal with four emperors Kaido. Moreover, there must be a huge black hand who is unaware of the red hair and is pushing the chaos of the world. For such a terrible character, the redhead really gets more and more frightened the more he thinks about it. Before, he almost ignored the existence of that person. This is the real horror. Did you exceed the rocks? Hawkeye was silent on the evaluation of red hair, but he agreed with it from the bottom of his heart. He suddenly remembered the words left by the man before he left on the island of the Dark Exchange. When the tide of the times is surging to its peak, no one can escape, and there is no so-called neutral person, and when you arrive, which side will you choose? Rao was based on Hawkeye's consistent and unparalleled kendo heart, and at this time he also had a sense of dazedness. When Hawkeye left, Red Hair and Beckman were standing on the shore, watching Hawkeye's back. Beckman suddenly said, "Please ask for flowers. Hawkeye, it's not the same as before. Shanks, are you mentally prepared to break with Hawkeye?" Advertisement. Beckman's sharp and wise eyes actually saw the eagle eye just now, that moment of shaking. Redhead did not respond. He looked at the sea level where the eagle eye had disappeared, and he only felt that it was under the calm sea that was the same as before. At this time, it was full of an unspeakable undercurrent. A depression that makes Red Hair feel difficult to breathe. Holy Land, Mariajoy, Pangu City. This ancient giant city, the most solemn and extravagant in the world, is, as always, a paradise for celestial dragons. The main street of Pangu City. A celestial dragons riding a slave swaggered across the city. The guards guarding both sides of the street hurriedly knelt down and kowtow. When you encounter celestial dragons without kneeling, in the world of pirates, it is a big crime to behead. These guards did not see that celestial dragon sitting on the back of the slave was eating a blue pill at this time, with psychedelic eyes and a slap on the mouth, and muttered obsessively with an inaudible voice. "I will live forever, I want to live forever." At this time, another gorgeous carriage came to meet celestial dragons riding slaves. The guard who just wanted to get up was shocked and knelt down again in fear. Because the carriage that came, in celestial dragons, it is also the extremely powerful Holy Family in Roswald. The carriage of the Roswald family and the celestial dragons riding the slaves are staggered. There was no conflict, which made the guards on both sides a sigh of relief. The guards couldn't help wondering, why are the Rosvard saints, who have become more and more arrogant and don't even put other celestial dragons in their eyes, have such a good temper today? They wouldn't even think of killing them. inside that gorgeous and spacious carriage. In their minds, the Roswald family, who is high in their minds and also extremely powerful among celestial dragons, is like their guards, kneeling at the feet of a man in fear. And that man sat peacefully on the golden throne, his eyes indifferent. It seemed that he didn't care about celestial dragons' bowing at all. Beside the man, a coquettish woman with long white legs wrapped in black silk mesh said with a smile. Master Joker, when you are away, Rosvard and his family are obedient. Especially the woman Sharulia, your subordinates have helped you to become the most well-behaved maid. The coquettish woman is Khalifa, who has become an official member of CP0. And the indifferent man on the throne, not Dover, which one? Chapter 116 Purple and Gold Throne, I'm who opened his eyes. Advertisement. Holy Land, Mariajoy, the hometown of the creator, the existence that the world looks up to. Even for emperors-level powerhouses, when they get here, they have to be cautious. However, few people know that such an unattainable holy place. But there is a monstrous clutch that covers this place silently. The celestial dragons standing on the cloud are also controlled by the master of the clutches. Celestial dragons, who used to be arrogant and lofty in front of the world, are now kneeling on the ground like a slave in front of the master of the clutches, humbly, with a flattering smile on their face. Dover sat on the throne. This magnificent carriage is extremely spacious and can put down the wide and comfortable golden throne he is sitting on at this time. Dover glanced at the Roswald family. Rosvard and Charos, kneeling on the ground, immediately couldn't help shaking. Shalulia, who was originally extremely arrogant and regarded mortal life like an ant, came closer, knelt at Dover's feet, and held Dover's legs with a flattering expression. She was really an out-and-out maid. July 17. Khalifa's eyes were triumphant, and she was able to discipline an extremely noble princess celestial dragons into a maid, but she was quite fulfilled. Khalifa secretly looked up. The man who was so stalwart that she made her face bursts of face, was a little disappointed to find that the man didn't have any expressions. But immediately, Khalifa's disappointment turned into supreme piety and admiration. Are there any real gods who will put the so-called noble identity of celestial dragons in their eyes? Tell me about the recent situation with Mariagioa. Dover said faintly. Roswald shook his body and immediately trembling cautiously. Return to Sir. This year, our business has covered 2/3 of celestial dragons. They are all loyal sellers of pills, and they buy a lot of pills every few days. In Mariajoy, 2/3 of celestial dragons have eaten the blue pill developed by Guy Saw. It also means that these 2/3 of celestial dragons have already walked on the edge of hell, and Dover can make them fall into the abyss of being bitten by evil spirits with just one foot. However, it is more useful for Dover to keep them than to kill these celestial dragons. Not only can they bring innumerable money to Dover every day, they are also tools Dover uses to promote the chaos of the world. Roswald. A sneer appeared at the corner of Dover's mouth. Double the price of the pill. Yes, sir, Roswald said Kaido immediately. As for the doubling of the price, whether those celestial dragons will stop buying, even the stupid Charles Rose would not care. Because, in the eyes of celestial dragons, who has no concept of money, 500 million Baileys and 1 billion Baileys are just numbers. Since more money is needed, let the people below provide more heavenly gold. Advertisement. Water almost overflowed in Khalifa's beautiful eyes. She knew that with a simple sentence from a man, the world might be going through another mess. And Marine, it's going to be overwhelmed for a while. In such a few words, the power of the world's situation was shaken, and Khalifa had no power to parry at all. The carriage went forward, but it did not go to the palace of the Roswald family. Instead, I came to the resident of the celestial dragons named Tangjahe clan. The Tangjahe German clan is one of the 20 countries that founded the world government 800 years ago and moved to Mariajoy since Dressrosa. And more than 20 years ago, Donquixote Mingu left Mariajoy with his wife and 2 young children to pursue the so-called free and equal life. Needless to say its fate. After many years, Dover once again set foot on this land that he longed for in his childhood. Once, Doflamingo killed his father and wanted to return to Mariajoy, but was rejected by the Donquixote family. So, at that time, Doflamingo secretly vowed to destroy the world ruled by celestial dragons. But now, Dover is no longer the same Doflamingo. His expression became more and more indifferent, without a trace of emotional fluctuations. As soon as Kifu appeared, Rob Lucci immediately stepped forward and bowed down. Master Joker, things here have been settled. Dover nodded slightly and stepped into the most noble temple of the Donquixote clan. In the temple, the old elders of the Tangjahe clan were all kneeling on the ground, with a blue nose and a swollen face, and he couldn't bear to watch the gambling. Rob Lucci, the CP0 group, how dare to treat us as creators like this? This saint must kill them. Kill them. These old elders of the Tangjahe clan were just taken by Rob Lucci as a former CP9 member, and now they are all members of CP0, so they had a good lesson. An old elder was swearing, and suddenly, he saw a figure walking from outside the temple. The sunlight outside the door and the wine on the figure made the old man unable to open his eyes for a while. Who? Is it a guard? It's just right. Quickly catch Rob Lucci's wicked bastards, and this saint wants them to live and become slaves to Donquixote forever. The elders yelled, but after waiting for a long time, the figure did not reply. When the sun faded, Donquixote's elder finally saw the face of the stalwart figure, and his body was shocked immediately, as if he had seen a ghost. Yes, it's you, Donquixote. Doflamingo. Impossible. Why are you here? Dover, You have been removed from the celestial dragon's identity, from Mariajoy without authorization. Do you know how serious it is? Doflamingo, get out of here. This is the sanctuary of the Tangaheda clan, and you can't come in for the abandoned son of you. Advertisement. After the initial shock, the group of elders screamed. Dover watched the old guys indifferently. At first, they refused him to return to Mariajoy. However, Dover now has no hatred for these old guys. Yes, just looking down at the indifference of the ants. Blindly guarding the old glorious moths, don't know the status quo, you, really pitiful. A faint voice came from Dover's mouth, accompanied by an unparalleled power, filled the entire temple. The face of the Donquixote clan's old man suddenly changed, and the body that was already kneeling on the ground was stuck to the ground with no resistance. What's the matter? The elders were shocked and terrified. I only heard the sound of footsteps that seemed to come from hell, getting closer and closer. Dover's foot stepped on the face of the Donquixote clan elder, step by step on the temple, the oldest and noble purple gold throne of the Donquixote clan. This purple gold throne, except for the original king of the Tongay River de clan, for hundreds of years, no one from the Tongay River de clan was qualified to sit on it. The throne is alive, people who are not qualified can't even get close to it. And when Dover walked to the purple and gold throne, the purple gold throne suddenly shined brightly, as if welcoming its master who had been waiting for 1,000 years. The corner of Dover's mouth lifted slightly. This purple and gold throne is indeed a bit strange. It's like eating devil fruit's weapon, with a certain spirituality. The next moment, in the unbelievable 4.6 eyes of Donquixote, Dover slowly sat on it. Purple gold light bloomed to its apex in an instant. Rob Lucci, Khalifa, the veteran of the Roswad family, the Tangahede family and all the people. At this moment, the whole body Yan Li couldn't help it, completely involuntarily crawling on the ground, shaking and shouting. King. At the same time, on the vacant throne. On the scarlet throne that symbolizes the supreme power of the world government. A mysterious figure shrouded in darkness, slowly opened his eyes. His eyes could not be detected, but it could be seen that there was a certain kind of extreme shock at this time. Has any king awakened? The low and inaudible voice echoed in the hall. Soon, the world government's highest power center, 5 elders, received the order of the most supreme Lord Yim. Go all out to hunt down all existences related to the king. Chapter 117 Whitebeard's Expectations, Blackbeard's Ambition. Advertisement. New World. Whitebeard Territory. It has been nearly a year since Ace joined the Whitebeard Pirates. With Ace's cheerful and active personality, coupled with Whitebeard's deliberate care, he is easily and completely integrated into the White Group, and has become one with everyone. And, like other members of the White Group, Ace began to call Whitebeard, Daddy, sincerely. Although Ace did not eat Mara fruit like the original book, but the two-color hockey learned from Garp is becoming more and more proficient. With that superb armament hockey, he defeated the rest of the powerful competitors in the White Group, and succeeded in becoming the captain of the second team, which caused a lot of sensation in the White Group and the entire New World. Of course, Whitebeard's personal teaching is indispensable, but Ace's own strength should not be underestimated. Goo la 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 la. This day, Whitebeard was sitting in a tall chair, watching Ace playing with Marco's captains happily. A pair of aging but unconcealed hockey's old eyes flashed with relief. Since learning that Ace is Roger's son, Whitebeard has deliberately raised Ace into the next generation of One Piece. Father and son twin kings. Such an unprecedented magnificent scene, I think it will be quite interesting. Ace, this kid, has learned domineering with the old guy Garp, and now he has the teachings of the old man, plus the son of Roger. It seems that soon, he will awaken Roger's domineering attitude. Goo la 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 la. Even if you really become the next generation of One Piece, it is not impossible. Roger, if you are still alive, would you be happy to see this? Gum, la 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 la. Whitebeard laughed. Regardless of the dissuasion of the nurse beside him, he drank the wine in the huge ocean bowl beside him in one gulp. Whitebeard's greatest hope for the rest of his life is pinned on Ace. If everything goes on smoothly like this, if Whitebeard himself won't die too soon, then the future may really be as beautiful as Whitebeard thinks at this time. However, Whitebeard would not have thought that in the darkness, a pair of invisible hands had already quietly approached. The ambitious man who has been on the mobile for decades, is about to reveal his beast's claws, which have also been honed for decades, and completely break the peace of the Whitebeard pirates. It is thousands of miles away from the main ship of Whitebeard, the mobile. Here is an unknown sea. Because Whitebeard is too powerful, its territory is the most expansive among the 4 emperors. Therefore, there are also many sea areas in the territory, which have never been explored. The crew of Whitebeard will go out to explore from time to time, and they are not forgetting the pirates' old line. Today, it is the 4th Division Captain Sachi, and the 2nd Division Ace's capable player Marshall, D. Teach that came out for the expedition. Originally, Teach had a chance to be the captain of the 2nd Division. After all, he was an old man on the Whitebeard ship. Advertisement. However, Teach voluntarily backed down and handed over the position of captain to Ace. His style of not caring about fame and fortune makes Sachi, who has an excellent relationship with Ace, admires him and trusts Teach. The two of them laughed and went out to take an adventure together. Well, I haven't been to this sea before. I guess there will be something interesting. Go to the island and see. Sachi held Teach's shoulder and laughed. Teach at this time is far less than the 4 emperors Blackbeard, who wears gold and silver and is arrogant. Teach's dress is very simple, and his face is full of humble smiles. Since big brother Saki is in high spirits, of course the younger brother will accompany him to the end. Ha 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 ha. Sachi was even more happy when he heard it. The two went to the island together without taking other crew members. They were soon covered by countless towering trees on the island. Sachi and Teach walked into the depths of the island. The singularity in his eyes is getting thicker and stronger. Here, it is really extraordinary. There are many rare and strange treasures that are invisible to the outside world, and there are rare and strange things. Ha ha ha, take these back, Dad will be very happy. Saki rubbed his hands, as if preparing to move the entire island back. Teach smiled and nodded, but his eyes were full of disapproval, and his heart sneered even more. Huh, such rubbish, Lousy doesn't like it. There is a thought in the mind, but another expression on the surface. Teach and Saki were enthusiastic about carrying the rare treasures on the island. Huh, this is. Suddenly, Sachi screamed. Teach, who was moving things at the other end, asked with a smile. Brother Saki, have you found anything good again? With so many gains this time, Dad will definitely reward you well. But to Teach's surprise, Sachjing did not respond to him for a long time. Teach noticed something was wrong, turned around and looked in the direction of Sachi. The next moment, Teach was shocked. The body couldn't help trembling. In those peaceful pupils, the ultimate disease, madness and ambition that could no longer be disguised broke out and hidden for decades. Sachi, who was attracted to all his mind, did not notice Teach's abnormality. He was also very excited, and he couldn't help but walked forward and picked off the strange fruit that was hanging on a big tree and covered with spiral patterns not far away. Advertisement. Devil fruit. Turns out to be devil fruit. Teach, this time we are lucky. Sachi held the devil fruit in his hand, looked at it carefully, and then even more ecstatically said. This one seems to be Logia's devil fruit. Ha 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 ha, Ace hasn't eaten this stuff yet. Teach, if I give it to Ace, will Ace be grateful to me? Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. Blackbeard Teach quietly leaned forward, came to the back of Saki, and said medically. Of course, Ace will be grateful to you. Really, is this devil fruit so precious? Sachi asked casually. 717 didn't care about the Teach behind him at all. Gia ha ha ha, Teach can no longer suppress his crazy nature. Suddenly laughed loudly, his eyes turned out to be weird and crazy. Of course it is precious. It is not an exaggeration to call it the most precious devil fruit in the world, Saki. Because, what you hold in your hand is the legendary dark fruit. What? Dark fruit? Saki's whole body was shocked, and his eyes showed incredible. He had also heard the rumors of dark fruit, but he always thought it was fake. Unexpectedly, one day, the real thing will be discovered by him. Teach, how can you know so clearly? After the shock, Sachi finally felt something was wrong. Teach's tone, Teach's laughter just now, is something he has never heard before. Gia, there was a weird smile on Blackbeard's face. Of course I know, because Lousy has been waiting for it for decades. Teach's crazy voice made Saki completely shocked. Sachi hurriedly turned around. Teach you, just about to yell, the voice stopped. Because his neck is already severely pinched by a black paw. And what was imprinted in Saki's almost protruding eyeballs was Teach's extremely hideous face that made him feel endless chill and despair. Chapter 118 Blackbeard took the bait, true and false dark fruit. Advertisement. How's the situation? Did that guy get the bait, Princess Viola? Blackbeard, who was crazy because he saw dark fruit and couldn't stand his inner ambitions anymore, didn't know. Just when he attacked Sachi, the captain of the 4th squad of the Whitebeard pirates. It was 4,000 to 5,000 miles away from that small island. There are two charming women standing there. Among them, the beautiful woman who is like a blooming violet, her beautiful eyes seem to penetrate infinity, watching Blackbeard's every move. And beside the beautiful woman, there is a beauty with a small red umbrella, a delicate body and a charming smile on Sakura's peachy mouth. BWGB. B. The skins of the two women, one shining like honey, and the other as smooth as cream, are all beautiful in the world. The two women are Viola and Stussy, who came here from Dressrosa at some unknown time. Viola's beautiful eyes were like a deep pool of water, marking the scene thousands of miles away. That disgusting guy with a mouthful of teeth is what Dover called Blackbeard Teach. HMPH, it's really hypocritical. Just now, I hooked up with the captain of Whitebeard, called brothers, and killed him mercilessly. NS. Viola's tone was unabashedly disgusted. Stussy giggled, sly colors passed through her agile eyes. Listen to Master Joker, that is a terrible person who can forbear his ambition for decades without revealing it. It would be strange if he couldn't turn his face and be merciless. The arrival of the two women was naturally assigned by Dover. That person's forbearance and ambition, even if it is me, I feel terrified. If he gets the real dark fruit, I am afraid that there will be an extraordinary table hero in the future world. But the poor thing is. At this point, Stuss suddenly showed a playful and contemptuous smile on his delicate face. That guy was spotted by Master Joker. The purpose of the two women here is to lure Blackbeard into the bait. They put the fake dark fruit imitated by Guy saw on the small island that Blackbeard must pass by. Sure enough, Blackbeard and Sachi got on the island. And, when Blackbeard saw the imitation of dark fruit, he immediately couldn't help his surging ambition and madness and killed the 4th Division Captain Sachi. It can be expected that the Whitebeard pirates after today will experience unprecedented chaos. In Viola's mind, the handsome face of his own man appeared, and his heart was filled with infinite pride and love. What about the careerist who can stand for decades? What about the world's strongest 4 emperors group? Under his own man's understatement, he played with them between applause. Viola kept watching. Blackbeard ate the fake dark fruit, then turned around and said lightly to Stussy. The target is already on the net, go back. He has been the queen of the 3 kingdoms of Osno for several years, and his words have a queen's temperament. At the same time, Viola himself has no words for Stussy. She can accept Robin and the girls on Dressrosa, but the foreign Stussy, unconsciously, is like sugar, labeling it humeasy. Especially, Stussy's seductive face and exquisite body are not easy to make the same S**X feel good. Kako. Stussy didn't care about Viola's faint hostility, but felt a little funny in her heart. That man really has magic power that all women can't resist. Makes so many beauties jealous for him. With his dexterous head turning his mind, Stussy actually had some puzzles and doubts about this. The guy named Blackbeard killed the captain of the Whitebeard pirates. The Whitebeard pirates will be in chaos, and Stussy can predict it. But is it just as simple as chaos? The purpose of that man could not be so superficial. In this, there must be a fog that Stussy can't see through. Master Joker. Stussy licked her bright red lips tenderly, and thought very curiously. What do you want to do with this thing? Advertisement. Although Stussy couldn't see through Dover's thoughts, she knew that that man would never be aimless. The world will inevitably set off turbulent waves because of this trivial thing they just did. Blackbeard killed Sachi and couldn't wait to take dark fruit into his hand. His body was trembling with excitement because of this sudden surprise. Finally found. Finally found. Dark fruit. I belong to Lousy from now on. Thieves ha 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 ha. Blackbeard couldn't help laughing up to the sky. Next moment. He couldn't wait any longer and stuffed the entire dark fruit into his mouth. Gudong. Blackbeard swallowed dark fruit whole. He closed his eyes. Waiting. The ability that is about to be obtained. There is no fruit in the world that can compare. Devil in the abyss of hell, please give me the power of darkness. Blackbeard roared in his heart. A few minutes later. He opened his eyes suddenly, and a black light flashed across his pupils. Blackbeard then raised his right hand, and wisps of dark air slowly gathered into his palm. This is the power of dark fruit, the true dark power. Although the ability to release was a bit slow, it didn't have the powerful power that Blackbeard had thought before, that could make the world dim as soon as it was released. But Blackbeard didn't think much, waited for decades and finally got dark fruit. He was completely immersed in ecstasy at this moment. On the other hand, he also thinks that he has just eaten dark fruit, and he must practice and develop for a period of time before he can exert the true power of dark fruit. Anyway, Lousy doesn't need to be on Whitebeard's boat anymore, stay on. Blackbeard clenched his black fist, and said with a smile. The era in the future belongs to me, Blackbeard. The old Whitebeard who was about to die of illness, it is time to let the supreme position out. At this time, there was a shout from a distance. Captain Sachi, teach, where are you? It turned out that it was staying on the ship, and just because he heard Saki's screams, he came down to look for their crew. When the crew came to Blackbeard's place and saw the body of Captain Sachi who had fallen at the feet of Blackbeard, their eyes widened in disbelief. Tremblingly pointing to Blackbeard, teach, you. Hey. Blackbeard sneered cruelly, and slammed his right hand on the ground. The ignorant will never understand how the times are changing. And Lousy, what kind of existence will become? The secret point, a dark tide, from Blackbeard's right hand, filled the ground. The speed of the diffusion is definitely not fast, but because the situation is too horrible, the crew did not react at all, and remained motionless, and finally was covered by the undercurrent to their feet. Immediately afterwards, they were swallowed by the undercurrent. At the same time, in Alabasta in the first half of the Grand Line, a scene that Blackbeard could never imagine is happening. Brother Dover, Vivi, who has been queen of Alabasta for more than a year, has big sapphire eyes and looks in disbelief at the stalwart figure that she thinks about day and night and can't wait to put her wings in a year ago to find her. Is it really you, Brother Dover? Vivi rubbed his eyes, feeling a little timid for a moment, for fear that it was just her fantasy. Advertisement. Dover couldn't help but smile. In the world, who would dare to impersonate him? He looked at the girl not far away. It hasn't been seen for a year, the girl seems to have faded away, and the youthfulness of the first meeting has become more and more slim. Vivi wore a pink gold silk palace dress with purple silk ribbons tied tightly around her slender waist. The beautiful long sky blue hair actually fell straight to Xiaoman's waist. Unlike the granulated sugar still staying in place, Vivi has already grown into a real little beauty. When seeing Dover's gentle smile, Vivi's body trembled, and his big watery eyes were instantly covered with water mist, like a swallow returning home, and he suddenly fell into Dover's arms. The tears of the young girl were like the longing in her heart, as if the embankment burst. Dover stroked the girl's sky blue hair lightly. When the girl finally calmed down and realized how bold she was just now, she couldn't help but blush. Dover's hand rubs Vivi's big watery eyes, the traces of tears flowing on his small face under the clear sky, and he chuckles. Quote. It's almost becoming a little cat. Vivi's face flushed even more, and his little hands pinched the corners of his clothes. But soon, Vivi plucked up courage, looked up at the man's eyes, bit his little lip and said. People miss Brother Dover. Between the sincere emotions, there is even a little girl's unique delicateness. With a move in Dover's heart, he once again embraced the girl and walked onto the high throne together. After sitting down, Dover took out a devil fruit and handed it to Vivi. Vivi was surprised. If Blackbeard teaches here, he will stare out his eyes and even fall into frenzy. Because what Dover took out at this moment is also a dark fruit. The most important thing is that, unlike the exabe that Blackbeard ate, this is the real dark fruit. This is dark fruit, with the power of darkness. Dover looked at Vivi and said, Jows. Vivi, you, come and eat it. Vivi was startled. Although she doesn't know the so-called dark fruit, she also knows the preciousness of devil fruit. And the one taken from the hands of Brother Dover is probably even more expensive than imaginable, right? But Vivi did not hesitate. Since Brother Dover asked, Vivi would unconditionally obey. She put her small mouth directly, and took a small bite on the dark fruit that was still in Dover's hand. It's so terrible. Vivi pursed his mouth, with a petite expression of disgust. Dover couldn't help but smile. The real dark fruit that Blackbeard had been eager for decades, but couldn't, was just an unpalatable thing in the girl's mouth. Since it's unpalatable, throw it away. Devil fruit, you only need one bite to gain power. Dover looked at Vivi with a hint of expectation. How does the dark power feel? Only then did Vivi feel that there seemed to be a strange force in his body. And, since she was born to be the controller of Pluton, it seems that her physique is also extremely compatible with dark fruit. It's weird. Let me show you a show, Brother Dover. Vivi jumped out of Dover's arms. She slowly opened her arms. Along with it, a burst of ultimate darkness surged from Vivi. Almost in an instant, it spread to the entire hall. Compared with the counterfeit product that Blackbeard ate, the gap between Wily and the counterfeit product is simply unreasonable. Chapter 119 The Dark Lady Vivi, Virgo's Strength. Advertisement. Vivi only relies on instinct to stimulate dark fruit's ability. The darkness released filled the whole hall in an instant. Compared to Blackbeard on the island of New World, the dark acupoints released by Blackbeard, no matter how fast or powerful, are many times stronger. Even Blackbeard is not inferior to the original book. Dover looked at the darkness that was getting deeper and deeper, and he was thinking. Vivi has an extremely close relationship with Pluton, and is the only person in the world who can see the Pluton ship elves. And Pluton itself is the darkest thing in the world. Thinking about it this way, Vivi's physique fits well with dark fruit, which is also the dark essence, and it is also a reasonable thing. Vivi was immersed in that wonderful feeling, as if being in a dark ocean. At this moment, she feels that she is unprecedentedly powerful and omnipotent. It seems that the entire world can be destroyed just by turning over your hands. From within Vivi's petite body, more and more darkness emanated. In the dark place, everything was swallowed by the stone. In this scene, it was like the black sword wave that Dover used Yan Mo to chop out, with the breath of hell. In other words, dark fruit itself may be born from hell. But when the dark breath spreads around Dover, it conveys a sense of docility and submission. It's like the deep darkness, worshipping the supreme demon king. Even if Dover knew it, dark fruit, which could neutralize the ability of the capable person, would not have a slight effect on him. Dover. Vivi opened his eyes. Her big sapphire blue eyes were also stained with a dark luster at this time, showing a unique charm of 720 in the world. My dark ability does not seem to work for you. Vivi was also aware of this, but instead of losing her, she was extremely happy. Does it mean that they are Brother Dover's most intimate little padded jacket, and will always be under Brother Dover's wings? The girl's innocent words, coupled with the pure and admiring attachment eyes, made the darkness surging around her more docile. Dover couldn't help but smile lightly, stretched out his big slender hand, and said, Come. Without any hesitation, Vivi stepped forward. Shi Feng Chai Jin Yao, with the more docile darkness, is like the most noble princess in the darkness, going to serve her Kun King. The Dark Lady, Vivi, what do you think of this title? Dover looked at Vivi walking towards him step by step, and said with a smile. Vivi ate the dark fruit and was able to manipulate the ancient weapon Pluton, which has the name of a god. Vivi is also the queen of Alabasta, and Alabasta was one of the 20 countries that created the world government 800 years ago. It can be said that Vivi's identity is more noble than those celestial dragons who claim to be descendants of the creator. Advertisement. Therefore, it is quite appropriate to call it the Dark Goddess. Vivi was stunned, and then dinged Dover with his big eyes, and said. Even if they are the Dark Goddess, they are also Brother Dover's little padded jacket. Stop talking. Vivi plunged the entire body into Dobev's arms. Dover moved slightly in his heart, and put his arm around the girl's sleek waist with his backhand. Endless darkness came one after another, completely concealing their bodies. The next day, Royal Palace of Alabasta. On the high throne sat a man and a woman. The man's eyes are like stars, vast and boundless, and his every move exudes great majesty. The woman, for the preparation, is a girl, wearing a luxurious palace dress with a tight waist, which outlines the girl's moving curve. And the young girl's small white jade-like hand has been clutching the man's big hand tightly. When she glances at the man with her beautiful big sapphire eyes, a hint of shyness and sweetness flashes from time to time. It's like a newly married young wife looking at her husband Kun. Below, Cobra, the original king of Alabasta and Wei's father, looked at the closeness of his daughter and the man, and didn't know what happened. Chunin kept sighing in his heart. It is said that girls are outgoing, and the daughter may be more obedient to that man in the future, and it is much more important than her own father. While Cobra was a little jealous, he was more pleased. He no longer regarded Dover as an ambition-like crocodile who just wanted to take advantage of Alabasta. Since the man dominated Alabasta for more than a year, the lives of the people of Alabasta have been improving day by day, and they have never been disturbed by any pirates or thieves. Moreover, that celestial dragons cruelly conquered and made the people of countless countries miserable, the increasingly demanding heavenly gold, did not affect Alabasta at all. How Cobra didn't know that it was all because of the man on the throne. But on the bright side, the people's gratitude is all attributed to Queen Vivi and the marine base of Alabasta Virgo. Today, Vivi is loved by the people, much better than when Cobra was in power. Coupled with the happy smile on his daughter Vivi's small face and the be-beg face at this time, the last trace of unwillingness and concern in Cobra's heart disappeared. Alabasta's situation at this moment is undoubtedly heavenly compared to the world that is increasingly resembling hell under the leadership of the outside celestial dragons. Cobra even couldn't help but think that the man on the throne would dominate the world. For the world, it would be better, right? Dover didn't know Cobra's thoughts, and it had changed drastically. His eyes kept falling on another person in the palace. Virgo, get up. Dover smiled lightly. The man kneeling on the ground, vigorous and solemn, is not Gueju Virgo, the highest cadre of the family, and who was he? However, now Virgo can no longer use the nickname, Ghost Bamboo. Advertisement. Since I ate Mara Mara fruit, and under the blessing of the Dover system, I have practiced Virgo for several months, and my strength is no longer what it used to be. His ability to spur flames, coupled with his superb armament Haki, even the flames are dyed with a layer of Haki black. It looks like a ghost fire in the netherworld, ghosts and gods are unpredictable, and the power is incredible. The original Golden Emperor Tezola was taken by Virgo after he met him. The countless Baileys he controlled enough to shake the world also fell into the Donquixote family. In short, Virgo should now be called Wildfire Virgo, whose strength is almost the same even when compared to Marine Admiral. However, even though the strength has increased by many times, Wilgo is more respectful to Dover than ever. He knelt on the ground, throbbing in his heart. The increase in strength allows Virgo to feel the young master even more. That savage Haki, that spirit that traverses the world. Endless piety surged in Virgo's heart. He unreservedly believed that the last person to ascend the ultimate throne must be the young master. Yes, master, young master. Virgo stood up respectfully and stood with his hands. In the eyes of Marines outside, the base leader of Wilgo, who was more reliable and powerful than Dashan, acted like a submissive pawn in front of Dover. Virgo, the horn of the times has sounded, can you hear it? Dover looked deep. Virgo suddenly became excited, and it took a long time to suppress himself. As the young Master Admiral, the undercover lurking in the deepest part of Marine, he must remain absolutely calm at all times. But Virgo's voice still had a shudder. Isn't the horn that dominates the era in your hands? Master, young master. Howl, howl, ha ha. Dover laughed lowly, looking at Virgo's eyes, becoming more satisfied. Virgo is really already the #1 admiral under Dover at this time. Whether it is scheming and resourcefulness, patience and strength, or absolute loyalty, it is impeccable. And the task that Dover will confess next can only be done by Virgo. Virgo, go to Impel Down and tell Sand Crocodile that it is not far from that day. And also, in Impel Down, there is a guy named Yuji Shiryu. Go and meet him for a while, Virgo. Although the young master did not expressly say, Virgo certainly could hear that the guy named Shiryu must not be simple. If it can be subdued, I am afraid it will be of considerable help to the young master's plan. Virgo nodded solemnly immediately, and replied solemnly. Master, young master, the subordinates understand what to do. Chapter 120 Whitebeard's unfavorable premonition, Ace who will go his own way. Advertisement. At the moment of an ongoing conversation at Alabasta that no one knows about. New World. On Whitebeard's main ship, the Moby DK, the atmosphere was unprecedentedly depressed and dead. Teach that B******** D dare to kill, Captain Sachi. A big man with a strong physique uttered these words almost gritted his teeth. He is a member of the 4th Squad, Sachi's subordinate. When the news of Sachi's death came, it seemed that the Whitebeard pirates had a magnitude 18 earthquake. Everyone was shocked, especially when I heard that the murderer was Teach, who was always humble and not ambitious. In everyone's eyes, there is a touch of incredibleness. Especially the members of the second team wanted to defend Teach. After all, Blackbeard Teach has been on the Whitebeard ship for decades and has gained the trust of many people. However, after seeing the scarlet claw marks on the neck of Captain Sachi's body, no one spoke for Blackbeard anymore. Because using sharp claws to lock the throat is Teach's most accustomed move. We must avenge Captain Sachi. Vengeance for Captain Sachi. Revenge for the dead brothers. The crew who followed Saki out were all killed by Blackbeard. The ship was stolen by Blackbeard and escaped. Such a serious crime has never happened on the Whitebeard ship where the family friendship is strong. Therefore, after the shock and death, there is a terrible anger. Father, let us go to sea. We are going to chase Teach that B********************* D. Teach is absolutely necessary. Teach that damn it murderer, who has deceived us for so many years, must not let him go. The crowd is angry. The entire Whitebeard ship was filled with the voice of crusade against Blackbeard Teach. But a careful person will find that there are very few captains in the shouting person. It's not that the captains hate Teach. On the contrary, they have a better relationship with Saki than their relatives, and they hate Teach. However, they all made no sound abnormally. Because the captains all noticed the anomaly of the real king on this ship and their leader, the father, Whitebeard. After Whitebeard heard the news of Sachi's death, he leaned on the seat and closed his eyes. No matter how angry the crew shouted, he never responded. Daddy, the first team captain of the Whitebeard pirates, Marco, the Phoenix, stepped forward with some worry and whispered. He noticed that his father's body was trembling slightly. Advertisement. It suffices to explain what kind of anger is behind the old man's seemingly calm appearance. I'm afraid, more angry than everyone on the ship combined, right? After all, only the old man really treats each of them as his own son. Seeing his father did not respond, Marco became more worried. Marco is not only powerful, but also the ship doctor of the Whitebeard pirates. He knows well that his father's physical condition has been worse than 1 year. Marco was afraid that the old man would be angered by Sachi's death, and his body would get worse. Go and avenge Captain Sachi. Go. It's not too late. Never let Teach be ********** D escape. At this time, the members of the fourth team couldn't bear it anymore. Their eyes were red and they were about to disembark and chase Blackbeard. However, just at this time, Whitebeard opened his eyes suddenly. There was unquestionable majesty in his white pupils. Whitebeard shouted in a low voice. Come back. No one is allowed to go. Everyone trembled involuntarily. They had never seen him before, and the old man showed such a stern expression. The members of the fourth team also shrank their necks. In their minds, Dad is like a god. Even though they hated Teach to the extreme in their hearts, they did not dare to disobey the father's orders. The atmosphere fell silent again. I don't know what the old man Whitebeard thinks. According to the old temperament, he killed his family. Even if he chases to the end of the world, the old man will not let the murderer go. But this time, Dad is obviously different from before. Thump. Just when everyone died, a figure jumped off the sails. I'll go, I'll chase Teach. The figure who jumped down was not high, with a beautiful appearance, and the Whitebeard logo was engraved on the back. It was the captain of the second team, Ace. Ace clenched his fists tightly, and said to Whitebeard. Teach is my subordinate, I can't tolerate this happening. After finishing speaking, he didn't wait for Whitebeard to answer, and went straight under the boat. Whitebeard's eyes condensed. He knows Ace very well, knowing that once the latter makes up his mind, 10 cows won't be able to get back. Advertisement. ... For flowers. But Whitebeard still wanted to persuade him. He placed great expectations on Ace and didn't want Ace to suffer any accidents. Ace. Whitebeard used an extremely rare solemn voice, and said solemnly. Only this time, I have a very bad premonition. You can't rely on your own temperament. Ace paused and looked back at the extremely tall old man leaning on the seat. At first, Ace didn't think that one day he would give everything for Whitebeard. At the very beginning, Ace was to become the strongest in the world, to challenge the mysterious man on the East Blue Island who gave him the biggest blow in his life. But, when Ace met Whitebeard, his thinking has changed. He doesn't want to be the strongest in the world, because in his mind, the old man is the strongest in the world, even that mysterious man can't compare to it. The glory of the old man, even if Ace pays his own life, he must protect it. Saki is my good friend, Teach guy, can't let it go. Ace slowly and firmly said. The most important thing is that I can't let your reputation and honor be tarnished. After saying this, Ace jumped off the boat without looking back, and drove a speedboat away at great speed. Ace. Marco was in a hurry. About to chase. Whitebeard's voice said. Forget it. In Marco's worried gaze, Whitebeard closed his eyes again. It was the first time for all the members on the Whitebeard ship to see the usual heroic and hockey father, such silence and depression. Teach. No one knows that Whitebeard has been flashing in his mind from just now to the present, the figure of his most humble son ever. For Teach, Whitebeard has actually been concerned since a long time ago. In fact, he once talked about Teach in one of Roger's drinking conversations. Because, Teach was on his ship, except for Ace who joined later, the only person with D in his name. A family of D, known as the natural enemy of gods. How can Whitebeard ignore the meaning and danger contained in it? Therefore, he blocked the people on the boat who were going to chase Teach. However, Whitebeard can't stop Ace, who is also D. Whitebeard sighed from the bottom of his heart. He regretted not seeing through Teach's disguise earlier, so much so that now, even he can't get back the situation. Individual.